Welcome to the Two Cool Parents Podcast with your host, Will and Shay.
Hey, y'all.
What's good?
Our podcast is for the cool but corny in all of us.
CBC.
Like, subscribe, rate, share. Tune in, y'all.
Let's go. And we're back.
Hey, everybody.
Back like we never left.
What?
Yeah, Two Cool Parents in the building. We're here. This is your host, Will and Shay.
Hello.
What's going on, Shay?
Hey, Will.
We got some folks here with us.
We do.
We got some cool folks.
I'm excited for these guests.
Oh, yeah. These. I was introduced to these folks through Shay, but now they're like family.
How can I start?
Well, let's before you start, we want to.
I can go down memory lane.
Well, before you even go down memory lane, we gotta give a shout out to our sponsor.
Oh, yes.
So this week's episode is brought to you by G&Co Apparel. G&Co Apparel is the premier men's accessory subscription service. Each monthly box will contain over $100 worth of 4 to 6 dapper accessories, such as pocket squares, lapel pins, tie bars, and more for $28 a month. Each box will completely be coordinated by members here at G&Co and easy to style, making it simple to dress and impress those around you. Every month, they partner with Black-owned businesses to retain the Wakanda effect, Wakanda forever, and keep the Black dollar circulating. Not only that, a portion of every sale goes to goes to a in-house scholarship that they hand over every year. Sorry, just pushing the link. And they also do custom wedding orders. Shouts out to them partnering up with William Alexander Clothier. We'll talk about that in a little bit. They have a special offer going on now. If you use the promo code, let's go down to the lower part. No, we got our own promo code. Oh, snap.
Oh, what?
We got our own promo code.
We got a new promo code
Yeah, we
this
got a
week?
new promo code.
Okay.
It is Two Cool Parents. Number 2, COOL Parents. PARENTS.
I would hope they know how to spell parents.
Hey, just something you never know. Everyone has autocorrect now, so does anyone know how to spell words? They just click.
That is true.
So yes, with the Two Cool Parents, you get also in addition you get $10 off each box created. Also in addition to a $10 box they've created, another code for users to get 20% off the entire store. Which is actually us. Okay, cool. Yay! Woo! Suck up G&Co.
Thank you, G&Co.
Sorry, I botched that whole thing up.
We'll botch that incredibly.
That's Shay's job. She's supposed to do that, but
you didn't send it to me to do it.
I know that's my job.
Okay. Well, back to what I was saying. I'm super excited because I have two people that are very near and dear to my heart who are sitting across from us at our round table. I would like to take a moment to introduce Jade and Greg.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Don't be shy now.
Don't be shy now. Y'all was just dancing to the intro.
Right.
That was a smooth intro, though.
Greg was dancing to the intro.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't you
Felt
feel
the
like
vibes.
Take Flight, right?
Yeah.
I did that.
So, Jade and Greg are together. They're
They've been married.
item.
They've been married, what, going on a year now?
Yeah,
Little over
376 days. Not that anybody's
We're
counting.
officially an old married couple.
None of that.
Not right. Not really. Don't even try.
I love
yeah.
saying that. People are like, what?
Yeah, y'all still newlyweds.
Y'all are still in
Still
the honeymoon
newlyweds.
phase.
Brand new.
But I've known Jade, since our days at my previous employer.
Yes.
I used to work with her mom.
Yes.
And hey, Mom.
Mom.
And
Don't listen to this.
I met Gregory through Jade.
Gregory.
You guys just know I love saying his name. His name is Greg, but I'm calling him Gregory for the duration of this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I got to marry the two of them, so I'm really excited.
So you're married
They
to
got
both of them?
married. I feel like no, I'm kidding.
See, you got to marry both
She
of them?
was
I
our
did.
bomb.
I was
You
their
gotta-
wedding planner.
There you
Yeah,
go.
she was my bomb.
Break that down.
I was
She was amazing.
thebomb.com
Yeah.
because I was 9 months pregnant.
And you
Right.
implored me to help you, and I was like, I gotta do work.
You had so much fun.
Oh yeah, I did. Ain't gonna lie, rocking the mic was cool.
And just popped Christian out the next day
Did
like it
it.
was nothing.
Like it was nothing.
Was it
Light,
the next
light
day?
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wedding ended at 12:01.
Yeah. It was the next day.
It was clearly that next day.
It was July.
Their wedding was July
14th.
14th
Oh.
at 7 p.m.
Oh yeah.
Their wedding was 7/14/17.
7.
It was very important for Jay to have a very
was.
symmetrical wedding day.
I got you.
Did I get that right, Jade?
You did.
Okay.
Got it all right.
Greg, do you have any input? Because clearly this was just you attending your wedding. I feel like Jade and I planned it all. Greg just showed up.
That's what most of us do. They just show up. They tell me where
And
to
he was
be.
like, where did I need to be? Except for when Greg had to stand up for Jade. I thought that was very heroic.
Yeah.
Greg showed his true, like, gentleman, you know, when he was just like, you are not going to talk to my wife that way, my future wife. I was like,
When did this happen?
during the wedding planning process.
Yeah.
It gets to be
with
very
the-
flustered.
It got
With
a
the
little,
DJ.
Yeah, it got a little thick.
Ooh,
Yeah.
do tell.
Well, we're past that moment, so you know,
Let's not relive.
we're not gonna relive it. But let's just say Greg stepped in and was like, I got this handled, and that's when I knew
Yeah.
Greg was the real deal, Holyfield.
Yeah, had to let the DJ know. That's my wife.
That's exactly
That's
what he
my
said.
wife.
No, you said just my future wife.
Future wife.
You did.
That's my fiance.
I think you said future wife, if I remember correctly.
I don't know what I said. I was
Yeah.
tight. So
I know you were definitely
He
in
was
it.
pretty upset.
He was very. He know how y'all do when y'all get upset.
But it was a beautiful day.
It was.
So it was great.
It was dope. No phones.
They had an unplugged wedding, y'all.
Yeah, it was great. And everybody was unplugged.
So what is an unplugged wedding, Jay? Tell everybody
An
what an
unplugged
unplugged
wedding
wedding is.
is when you have no phones. You don't post on social media. It's
how
kind of
can we
like
not
it's kind
post
of
on
like
social
yeah,
media?
it's kind of like your wedding didn't exist except for the people who were there.
But, I
But
wanna
why
post
would
my
anybody
outfit.
want an unplugged wedding
I
in
pers-
this world of oversharing?
But I want to post my outfit. I want to look good.
And you could. That's the thing.
Before you walk in the
yes,
place.
before you walk in the place. I was like, you could let people know that you're coming to a great wedding, just beautiful time with your friends, with your family. But when you're there, no. And I just wanted the moment to be in the moment. Like, I think too often it's like the weddings become. I don't know if you guys saw that picture. So there's a picture that was floating online like not too long before the wedding, and it was of this like the groom was walking down the aisle to the altar, and he was like pretty much ducking his head, like he was like trying to duck and move to see his fiance, because there were literally like the crowd and the people who had that aisle seat had their phones like sticking out of the aisle, and like
my goodness.
like two people had their iPad just like positioned
Oh my
like
god!
at the altar. It was crazy, and it was from the
I like
vantage
that idea
point
now.
of the
Unplugged
photographer, and he was just like, "Yo, like the
can see
reason
everything.
why this like happens is like you want to share this moment and have this moment with the people you love, but please be respectful."
Yeah,
You know, because it gets crazy.
and you pay a lot of money for a good
A lot of
photographer.
money. Yeah.
And
You
that's
don't want
another-
flashes going off.
Right, and that's another good point. Just getting the shots from the photographers, you know,
Right,
just trying to get that
yeah.
clear shot. I was actually in a wedding for one of my college friends. I'd say 5
Yeah,
or 6
like-
months before we got
before.
married, and their wedding was all the way plugged.
all the way.
All the way
And-
plugged. They were plugged in.
Yeah, so I knew where the bride was gonna come out from, and I'm just looking like, all right, I see all these phones. I'm trying to duck my head, trying to see her walk in, and it's
Right.
even coming down the aisle, like you said, you know. But experiencing that live, because before I was discussing with Jay, I'm like, listen, we can't have our phones. Nobody can post. We
Yeah.
I mean, can't get a
Right.
hashtag. Can't get a
yeah.
hashtag. But after seeing that, I understood what she was getting at. And I was just,
Yeah.
you know, that's a great point.
It's the beginning of many compromises.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, looking back, certain parts I probably could have had the reception maybe a little bit plugged, but I don't regret having my ceremony unplugged.
Yeah,
Y'all can
Yeah.
get the video.
Yeah,
get
that's
your
true.
phone.
That's true.
I love that.
Like,
CD, DVD, oh,
exactly.
$5.
Yeah.
I agree. I do think
Yeah.
ceremony should be unplugged because there's a certain reverence in
Yeah.
that moment, and you know when everybody's kind of vying.
Why are you
for-
live streaming my wedding?
Yeah,
Exactly. No, seriously. And I remember a former
happened?
coworker of mine, she had her wedding, and I felt like I was there. Like it was like
Oh,
it
wow.
was legitimately like her entire ceremony, like through
Like, you could
pictures,
see
and
it,
you could piece it together, and it was like, dag, I'm here, you know. And I'm assuming that's what she kind of wanted, because it was the ceremony was kind of a lot, but it was just a lot. So, you know.
But I think it's also up to the bride and groom to decide
Exactly.
how they want to
do it.
celebrate their day.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with doing plugged or unplugged.
Yeah, absolutely. And
then-
because I've seen it done both ways so beautifully.
Yeah,
Like I've seen it
absolutely.
done
Yeah.
where it's like because the one pro that someone could argue for a plugged wedding is that you see different angles and perspectives from your
Absolutely.
guests. You know what I mean? Which I think is really cool. So like you see, your homegirl who's on the third aisle seeing like the back of your dress and she got the perfect shot. And
Yeah.
it's like, dang, the photographer wasn't even there. But she was at the altar,
That's
like,
why the
at altar.
photographer needs to have another photographer there with them so they can get all these angles.
Exactly. But
But there's something about like homemade photos. I get what you're saying. It's
yeah.
like you see those photos and you collect those photos and you're like, you see people grouped together and you're
Right.
just like, my
Right.
family really is coming together.
Right.
You're blending the two because
Right.
it's like, oh, look, cousins are with, college friends or things like that. So you get a blending of your wedding, like you said, and you get to see, like you said, from a different angle.
And we kind of had that moment with our photo booth. So it was a good medium. It was a happy medium.
If you can do the photo booth.
I'm
They're
down
getting
for
expensive now.
I'm down for the unplugged thing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it, especially, with Shay and I celebrating 5 years and
Woo, woo.
looking to do
Whoop,
something.
this month,
Right,
y'all.
5 years. Yeah.
9/21. Woo!
That's crazy.
5 years. It's crazy.
Can you believe it? Like, babe,
5 years, 2 kids,
5 years.
and everything else.
A house,
That's
2
not
cars.
that it goes by that quick. It's so nuts.
Yeah. Well, it didn't go by quick, but
But it
I mean-
goes by.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
the
been
last probably like 2 years has flown by. But I think
Okay.
at
That's
the
fair.
beginning of
the beginning was long.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
The beginning was long. Like the
We
first.
had a lot to like get
had a lo-
over
right.
and learn with each other.
I was 26.
Oh, wow. So you're my age, yeah.
I was 26 when we got married. Shay was 28.
And we had London too.
And we had London.
Right.
So it was a whole nother
a whole thing. Ooh,
circumstances.
yikes.
Right. And then I just, moved to DC, a brand new city,
Yeah.
learning, myself, learning, how to have a little fun. And
A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. I even said on this podcast before, I really wasn't there a lot in the beginning part of our relationship. I was at work. And then after work, I went out. I built up my social network and also my business network to build myself up, which I was very successful in DC. And as soon as we moved here, it went a little teeter-totter. And I think ever since 2016, we've really become much closer
Nice.
in a sense. So, especially now with us, both being unemployed,
Yeah.
we've gotten a lot closer, a lot stronger
Absolutely.
together. It's
This past year has been a really good
right.
together year. Like our 4th year of marriage, I feel like we finally, how like when you're in an airplane and you're going up and you get to like that, it's like
Yeah.
that turbulence.
Yeah.
And then you
Right.
finally crest like 30,000
Yeah, the
feet.
float, yeah.
And you feel the plane just like level out. I feel like that's where we are.
That's good.
Even though we're unemployed, even though there's like so much going on, I feel like we're
But you guys are doing
on
a lot.
level
You're not just
ground.
like sitting here. You're doing a lot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're both trying to make our businesses work.
Yeah.
You should see us. I'm like, well, when's your appointment? So I
Shay-
can schedule mine.
Shay,
That's
I
good.
need you to print out those order forms. Like,
right.
I mean,
I'm like sneaking down sheets,
or
like magical elves around here.
or like early in the morning, I'm pulling out to go get out there for Lyft and Uber.
Yeah.
That's a hustle too. I mean, I was telling Greg while we were outside grilling. I said, man, that's a hustle. He was telling me about when he was doing it too. And
I didn't know you did Uber and Lyft too.
Yeah, when I first moved to Philadelphia, did Uber for a little while.
It's a good way to help you learn the city. though.
Absolutely. And just the extra money. I mean, I was telling Will, those early morning rides to the airport.
I told you that airport ride is
that
the best.
airport
Good
is the
hustle.
way.
If you
But
can
gotta-
get an airport ride,
Yeah,
you got about a good $20 to kick off the day.
Yeah.
right, especially if you're coming from Jersey, going over there, they come,
Yeah.
you just pay for my way. Total cost.
Right, exactly.
Appreciate you.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's a hustle, and bringing home like I hate to say it like this, but it feels like a 1940s, 1950s type of marriage we have sometimes, with me going out to go get the money, Shay taking care of the
I do.
house.
I let Will be very much the man of the house. He brings home the bacon.
No,
literally.
not even. But then, and
the bacon
I
every
bet you,
day.
and I bet you some of those old school cats were like, Yeah, I made the money, brought it home, but then my wife took care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I bring it home. I'm like, all right, babe, what we got to do? What we need to lay out? And I know some
do.
folks are like, weren't you the banker? I said, look, I did that for people. For myself, I need someone else to do it for me.
That's a good point.
But
So-
that's kind of what Jade, you and I were talking about. Sometimes
Yeah.
you're in your own way.
Yeah.
It's like you can't see, even though that's something you're good at. Like I know Jade is a great writer.
Oh, gosh.
And she's just like, she's sharing with me today. She was like, sometimes I get a little stuck, I'm not sure where I should go.
Yeah.
And I'm just like throwing all these ideas. And she's like, yeah. It's hard to do that for yourself.
It's hard
Because
to
when you're
prep yourself
in the
up
moment,
sometimes.
you're just like,
You're in your head. Yeah.
what is this? And that's the same thing. Like, I feel for my business, I need somebody. I need some. That's why I'm glad I merged my wedding business, because I needed somebody else to just help me push along to get to the next stage.
Right.
Because weddings are moving in a certain direction, and now people want grand arches. They want, custom designs. They want things that are out of the box, that are on Pinterest. I'm just like, look, bro, like, I'm just old school, like pen and paper.
Right.
And I have
And
to
you
get
need a
with the
team to do
times.
that,
And I need a team.
Yeah.
So now
I've officially been let go. From
I fired Will.
I'm so happy.
Fired Will. He was the
I'm
first
so
employee
happy. I'm so
I hired
excited.
and fired. And he
Oh, so
was
this
so
is a good
happy.
fire.
It's a good fire.
Okay.
It's a good fire. I'm
I
like,
fired
when
him.
someone listens, like, damn,
I
how you
said,
get fired
well-
from your wife's job and your job? No, I got fired from. Like, Shay came to me. I didn't get fired from Shay. Shay came to me and said, we're letting you go.
It did. I made it official. So we're letting you go. I want to thank you for your commitment and your services. There's no unemployment benefit.
Oh God, Shade, I'm throwing the HR voice.
She doing the HR voice and everything. But like I said many podcast episodes ago, like I was showing, I'm like, okay, we need to do what? And then by the time my feet hurt, I'm like, can we go?
One of those
I don't
chair
want
covers.
to. Oh my gosh! Like I think we did y'all wedding, and she
I
was
think
like,
that's where Will reached his pinnacle, was y'all's wedding.
Really?
Because of the extra stuff that was going on, he was like, I can't deal with this. Like,
just give me the mic and let me rock.
I can't do. When do they leave?
Oh my god.
Not when they leave. I was like, when does the thing start so I can sit down? That's
No. But it
Yeah.
was, it was a life learning. And if anybody has a business, everybody knows you have your own business. Your family is your first employees. They work for you. You do not give them any money. Sometimes you do. But a lot of times you don't have any benefits. So you just give them hugs and kisses. So thank you, babe, for being along for the ride
yeah,
for the past
I'm
4
still,
years.
I'm still down for MCing.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, tell them every time. Like, oh yes, you need an MC. My husband's great.
I will keep that in mind.
How about out a fly suit for that day? Like, hey, what's going on, y'all?
So you better get your DJ skills so you can make it a package.
Shouts out to Apollo Black, supposed to give me some skills soon.
Okay.
About to be working with him.
That's dope.
Oh.
I can see Will DJing.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah, put my DJ set right here.
It'll be set up right next to
can
his
see
suit.
Oh yeah, this is about to be like the all-purpose room. Like I got the suit. Like if y'all can see the room,
Oh
we got
my
the suits in the
gosh.
background. Then I have the DJ stuff right here to the right.
And the bar on
that
the-
actually
The bar's gonna be
works.
over
And you
here.
have the lights somewhere like in the middle.
The light's gonna be hanging from up
Yep.
here. I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, it's gonna
And
be
you're ready.
it's gonna be lit. It's gonna
You're
be lit.
ready.
Greg can't see it. He's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, bro.
Hey, go
don't know.
for it.
But
I'm gonna continue to do what I do over here.
But I'm glad we're on the subjects of marriage. And, we're talking about, being together. Like we're being together 5 years. You guys are going on a full year and change now. So,
How
it's
does it feel? Like when you
Yeah.
talk to family and friends? Has
Y'all-
it felt like a year?
Not really. I mean, time really flew
Yeah.
by. I mean, especially now that we're in Philadelphia, we're always driving up to New York or DC. So we've been traveling back and forth all the time. So it feels literally like 5 months ago, 4 months ago. It doesn't even feel that long.
July kind of snuck up on us. Like it was kind of like, it was like I was just moving from New York to Philly. It was just like, okay.
Talk about your transition, Jay, because
Yeah.
you had a hard time originally coming
you too,
from
sister.
New York.
You too. I'm from here, and I'm
She
like,
was
what?
like, girl, Shay, I don't
was
know what
like,
this is. And I'm like, I love Philly. Come to Philly. And Will was like, girl, sit your behind down.
I was like, I would
Jersey.
have been like, yo, y'all move to Jersey? Y'all can be over here. We can kick it. We go to the park.
It was definitely like, okay, I'm gonna trust this man who I'm vowing to spend the rest of my life with. And
That might be important.
I'm gonna trust this man because I was just like, no, I mean, originally I was like, no, we don't really have to leave New York, really. But then having the conversation about just money and saving and just having a way to establish ourselves, because New York is not the greatest, the greatest city to really establish you in a way. And you can make it. I have friends who have been making it for years in New York, but it's a little bit harder. It's a little more difficult. So I was like, okay, we're going to try this out. It should be okay. It should be fine. But moving to Philly, it was definitely quite humbling.
Did you get homesick a lot?
And got really homesick. Got really homesick. And it was just kind of like, what is happening? Where am I? What am I doing?
What's the biggest difference from New York and Philly besides just like the cultural aspect?
Everything closes early.
Yeah.
I think
Boy, after 10 o'clock, you can't eat nothing.
honestly,
If you're at
I
a
think,
gas station or Wawa's, you ain't eating nothing out here.
I think
Zag.
I think the convenience is the biggest thing. I also think that
It's the subway too. Like
the subway,
because the great thing about New York, and I'm sorry to interject, but the great thing about New York that I love, the same thing about DC that I appreciate, is the
There's
fact
a
that
big metro
there's a
system.
big metro system that
Yeah.
connects the entire area.
Right.
When it comes to the Philadelphia area, the regional rail shuts down after rush hour going home.
Yeah.
You know, trolleys shut down. Only thing that's running now with buses, and you know who gets on the bus. Like
I don't want to do the bus.
I can't do the bus. Like I can
Yeah.
never do the bus. Like,
I can do the bus in DC, but not here.
Right. So I mean, people come on the bus, you're like, oh Lord, and then I mean, I hate to say this way, but there was a comedian, I forget his name, but he used to be on Comic View, and he did a lot of other stuff, and he made this one joke about when the bus driver had to pick up a dude in a wheelchair, but we gotta pick him up too. Can we get him on the way back? So you gotta deal with that.
So anybody who's handicapped listening to this are Will's
right,
opinions.
that's
It's not my
terrible.
opinions, but it's not my
didn't say nothing, right?
The rest of us, Greg, Jordan, and
gosh.
Shay, are like, yes, pick up the man in the wheelchair.
I know.
No,
Will
the
is
question
terrible.
I'm just re-saying what the dude said.
But you partly agreed with him, did you
No,
not?
I thought it was funny because have you ever rode the bus when like
We've
you
all
had to go to
ridden the
work
bus,
or something and they
yes.
had to pick up? Like,
I'll say this.
Can we-
I'll say this. They need to make it better.
they need to make it better.
They need to
The
change
process
some,
needs
the
to be
process
better.
needs to be better. That
needs to be a little more
ramp, when it rolls out, that thing just
Yeah,
it takes like
takes
10
like a
minutes
day.
just for the
It
ramp to
takes
hit
a
the
day.
ground.
You have to fold up.
It takes a day.
Oh, but then
And then he gets
like,
on the bus,
yo.
and he gets on the bus. You're like, oh yes, he's good. All right,
But
we
he
getting ready to
gotta
go.
get strapped
Wait.
in.
We gotta strap him in. After he strapped
no,
in, like,
not
we're
just
good.
not just
Then we
that.
gotta wait for
The
the ramp to
ramp
get
to
back
come back
up.
up.
Then the ramp come back like.
It takes a day.
No, not just that. Remember, the bus driver has to then get out the seat to lock them in, to put them there, and then don't
And then readjust in their seat.
readjust them in their seat. Don't also forget. It's in the front of the bus where if there's an old lady standing there like, oh ma'am, can you just move over here? If you got
gotta
try
wait
to
for
make
her to
a bust a
leave.
deal with the person sitting in the
Yep.
other seat, like, can you let her sit there? I've been here, I gotta go to work. It's just the bus is just too much.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
The bus is too much.
Listen, the
It's
bus
And the best
is a
YouTube
humbling experience.
and the best YouTube
Yeah.
experience, the best YouTube videos I've seen have been on the bus. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
They are.
And yeah, so I mean,
Jay
yes.
like had a fight happen on her bus one time.
Yes,
didn't he?
on
On
New
SEPTA?
York. New York City.
Oh, MTA? Okay.
Buses are legendary.
Oh yes.
I believe it.
It was. I forgot what the fight was about, but it was literally in the back. It was just going down, and the bus drivers in New York City are just gonna anyway. And so he was just like, "If y'all don't stop that, I'm gonna stop this bus, and nobody's going to work. I'm at work. Y'all need to go to work." I was like, "Y'all better stop fighting."
Raise your hand if you get paid for this trip. Well, I guess
Okay.
I'm gonna get paid whether we go or stop.
Okay.
Plus
yeah.
overtime. Let's go.
Right. So
Clearly.
right. So I mean,
Don't
it
let him
was
have
a
to call
lot.
a supervisor because that's an extra 20 minutes to your
Exactly.
time.
And those-
Exactly.
or transit police. And they
Exactly.
might
Or
not,
a transit police is another hour.
right.
Yeah,
But at least you can
exactly.
text and be like, I'm stuck on the bus. Ain't gonna make it to work. Sorry.
Especially if you don't feel like showing to work that day.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So I mean, the
I think you were late
adjustment.
for a meeting or something, weren't you?
I was, of course.
Terrible.
But so yeah, so Philly is definitely, the convenience isn't there, and I think, it's like I've grown to like Philly. It's kind of like
It's New York's cousin.
yeah, it's like
It's New
Philly's
York's.
like,
Just be careful because we know we gotta go back home. Right?
no,
Everybody listening.
but it's
We
kind
only
of
get
like
like one
all from
per,
Jersey.
we only get like 1 to 2 people from Philly who listen, so
It's
we're
kind-
good.
it's
Everyone
kind-
else comes from across the country.
right. Like Philly is like the cousin you admire. You're like, girl, I got you. I see you at the cookout, but we don't really talk that much. So we're just trying to get to know each other. So Philly never. And even though I do enjoy Philly, it always feels like a city that you can't really quite settle in.
I agree with you on that.
It always has this way of like, well, it's an in and out city, so
It is.
everyone who goes along the East Coast corridor passes through Philly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with that, you get like a dose of culture here or there.
Yeah.
but it's never quite together.
That's how I
if that
felt
makes
about
sense.
DC. So
Yeah.
DC is a very transient city. If you
Yeah.
notice about DC, it changes every couple of years based
Right.
off of
Elections.
not just that, but the people in there. So
Elections
who
and
people are
age.
coming from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So by the time I was getting ready to leave, my generation had been there for a while. Like the 30-something-year-olds, we had been there. We were moving
My
to
G,
the
you
burbs.
were 20 some odd.
So I was still in that group. We were moving to the burbs. Like
Okay.
we were no longer hitting up the park. We were no
Yeah.
longer doing all of the things that were, I guess, quintessential DC things that 20-something-year-olds do because we'd done them already.
Right.
We didn't have to prove ourselves anymore. We didn't have to go out to be seen. No, you came to our house to party.
Which I got in trouble for when I got there, huh?
Well, it was different because we had a whole different set of circumstances. I was moving into this motherhood realm,
Yeah.
and my expectations were totally different. I no longer went out to party. I agree. I lost myself. I lost my identity. I lost being a wife, and we've talked about this before. And that changes you.
Yeah.
And so I feel like cities like New York.
But think
It'll
about New York.
always be quintessential because everybody thinks of New York as this big apple. But cities like DC that are on the I-95 corridor, even Delaware, it's like that random stop that everybody's just like, oh, we're in Delaware.
Right. Because Philly is dope, but then it's like you also have people who are like, yeah, Philly is like Philly. You know, it's like
There's two sides of Philly,
there's
though.
two sides of it, right?
So there's the dope side, but then there's also the dope side.
you kind of are like it's such
intended.
it's such a pudding in like history, right? So it's like you have a touch of New York from being in New York, then you have a touch of Jersey, but then you have like Black folks who have been in Philly for like 40 years who remind you of your aunts and uncles in the South.
Because
so it's like
that's where they came from.
yeah, and it's like so it's like a
They
weird.
just here. They just been here.
Yeah, it's
But
just
their family came from the South.
Yeah,
so
family
it's
came-
like
yeah.
it's like an interesting mix. Like Philly is a very interesting city.
Philly is
Yeah.
North Carolina of the
We are. I'm not gonna.
Go that far.
Because think about it. Everybody passes through North Carolina on their way to somewhere else. Like,
a good
North
point.
Carolina
That's
is
a
like
good
one of
point.
those states that's a really cool
North Carolina is
state.
so big.
But everybody just drives through
So
it.
you're trying to say that Philly is the Charlotte of the North?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Or is Philly the Charlotte or Philly the Durham of the North?
Or Raleigh.
Or Raleigh Durham? You know.
I would say it's more alongside the Charlotte because it's on the cusp of
I mean, it's changing.
of,
It
of
is changing.
It's definitely
85,
changing.
like
It's changing
Charlotte
quite
is.
rapidly.
Charlotte is a lot of people from Atlanta are moving up to Charlotte because Atlanta is just full. They're like,
Right.
we
We
can't
don't
do this
need you
no
here
more.
no more. They
And
skipping,
actually,
they're
people
skipping
are
over
even
Columbia.
moving over to Memphis. Yeah, whew, skip over
Columbia.
Bull Street. Don't ask. That was a lifetime ago. But I feel like Philly is that it's a melting pot.
Yeah.
And at any given time,
But
you
the
get
thing-
different stuff in the melting
I mean,
pot.
but after me working in Philadelphia in different sections of the city, it's still a very. And Shay's like, oh well, it was like that in DC. I was like, to me, DC was not as segregated as it is in Philadelphia. When I see Philly, like there's parts of Northeast Philadelphia where if you're black, they're like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And then if you're renting there, they're like, well, whose house? Oh, they're renting out of so and so's house.
The same in the South, babe.
Well, no, I know it's the same.
I just know you didn't see it.
But here's the thing: in the South, it's overtly there. You know it's there. You
Oh, yeah.
know it's there.
They'll let you
I
know.
don't like this covert racism. I can't stand covert racism. Like if you say, like, don't smile in my face and tell me like, oh hey, you're a cool guy. Like no, don't
Yeah.
no. I'd rather you just if I see
Wave
you
your Confederate flag.
wave your Confederate flag, be proud. You know why?
And to me, Philly is such a black city that it's like when I think
It
of
was.
it's so crazy.
But
to
the thing
me.
is, like, when you look at it, like when I was working downtown Philly and off of Chestnut Street, the only time I saw this was like we down there to go shopping. That's it. Or down there to go cash our check because we don't want to go to the bank that's off abroad because you might get robbed. You don't want to go to that bank out there and the other spot because you might get robbed. The people come from their parts of the city to that one specific bank.
Yeah.
But
So
Greg was
everybody
really
converges downtown.
the person who was just like, babe, I think like this is an opportunity for us. Like I think this would be like a great just start for us.
Oh, no.
And so now I definitely understand and see like where the changes are happening.
Well, the area is flipping.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah, and there was a lot of things that played into that decision too, because there were some things in our favor with my employer. Not gonna say them.
Oh yeah, we
No,
don't.
it's fine, no.
You just say that you haven't. Just say your
Current
job.
employer,
Yeah.
previous employer.
Current employer,
Mm-hmm.
where my salary from New York came with me.
Of course.
So wherever I went, you know, my salary came with me. So I was like, hey, Philly's not too far from New York,
Right.
and
it stretches a little further.
it stretches a lot further.
Yeah.
And
Same thing from DC up here.
right, and then with the prices in New York of like, you know, homes being able to buy,
or renting even.
yeah, and even renting, but just specifically buying because I've seen what a property passed down to the next generation can
Exactly.
do. Because I grew up in Tallahassee on free lunch. My lunch was 40 cents
Yes.
up until I
I
moved
didn't
to
know
New
you
York.
was a Tallahassee boy.
Tallahassee represent.
Just like the
$8.50.
the super governor coming up, is it Andrew Gilliam?
Right.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Florida electing is it the first black governor?
Well, he's the primary. He won the
Yeah,
Democratic
he won
primary.
the Democratic primary.
but he's going to be
Yes.
governor.
He's going to be governor. So all of our Tallahassee listeners,
FAMU,
get out there
stand
and vote.
up.
Rattlers, baby.
BCC, let's go.
What you saying?
Bethune-Cookman College.
Bethune-Cookman.
No, what I'm saying is that we need them.
don't
We
know.
need them
Them
to.
to vote.
We need
Okay,
them to get
okay,
that
okay.
Yeah.
the up south
I'm about
part
to
of
say,
Florida. Because you know, I'm
got
looking at your chest
Rattlers
because you
at
got the
heart.
Florida joint on there.
Yeah.
And if you really look at it, the southern part of the Panhandle is actually the northern part of the state.
Oh.
And then the Tallahassee part, that's the northern part, is actually the southern part.
Oh.
Because up there, they talk with accents. Down there, they talk just regular.
Regular.
yeah.
Regular, regular.
Like
Once you
when-
get past-
once you pass Duval County,
Once you
it gets-
pass
Past
Thor,
Miami. Past Miami.
once you pass
no,
Tampa
no,
Miami
Duval,
is-
Orlando,
Duval.
Duval.
Once you pass
Jacksonville.
Duval and get south of Duval, it turns into the north.
Yeah.
So is Miami
Completely
considered in the
different.
north?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Even though it's south, it's the
Miami
north.
is very multicultural though.
Miami,
Yeah,
Orlando,
it is.
Tampa.
It is.
Tallahassee is
Tallahassee's country.
football country.
It's
It
country.
is.
Football country.
It's
It
his,
is.
it's his country.
Yeah.
BC team
Almost wanted to go to Florida State University, home of the Gators.
The Florida State
Florida
Florida
Seminoles.
State Seminoles.
Ooh.
Sorry, the Seminole Criminals.
Yeah, they're about to
Here we
get
go.
you.
Sorry
Look
about
at his
that.
face. Look at.
But I wanted to say
Where'd you
that the reason why,
No, I didn't go to Florida State.
Oh, where'd you go to school?
I went to Farmingdale out in New York.
Oh,
Yeah, stay close
the
to
reason
home.
why I did
SUNY.
it is because I was afraid of alligators.
Oh, that's valid.
That's why I said Florida Gators, because
Yeah.
I was afraid of gators. So I was like, I can't go there.
you know why I didn't want to go to any school in Florida? After watching Rosewood.
Well,
Well, there you go.
For real. Like, anytime I watch Rosewood, I just get pissed. I'm like,
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, we're watching we're watching Godfather in the background, guys.
It's so rough.
But
Don't me. So, guys.
yeah.
so just seeing what a property can do, you know, like how it just changed our whole family. My grandfather died. He had this corner house, I think 3-4 family house in Flushing. Sold it. We were able to move to Long Island, New York. Got off of free lunch to the point where my dad is handing me 50s for lunch for the week. I'm like, $50? What am I gonna do with this? I'm like,
Yo,
I got caviar now. We gonna be
everybody got pizza.
Everybody got listen, yo.
Everybody eats.
Yo,
B.
I was like Oprah out here at lunchtime. Like, yo, you want a pizza? I got you, my G. Pizza. You get a pizza. You get the pepperoni because I like you better than two.
Not
Yo,
you get the
you want
pepperoni.
ice cream? I got you.
You want the ice cream with the stick in it?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Ice cream with the stick. That was a quintessential, like, elementary
Oh,
school.
talking about like the
Middle-
little fudge
Italian
drink?
ice.
Yeah.
Italian ice.
No, she's talking about like the
No.
fudge ice cream
And they had
with
a
the
little
stick in
popsicle
it.
stick in it.
It had like a
Use it as
popsicle
scooper.
stick that you use
and
as
you gotta
scoop.
Use a
pull the
makeshift
towel.
Yeah. It was a makeshift spoon.
It was like
But
a paddle.
no, yeah.
It was
So-
a paddle.
Yeah, so
crazy.
You could-
Yeah,
the
it's crazy.
things you could do with stuff. You
Yeah.
could totally make it a boat.
So you know, it was good. It was a good opportunity, and I learned quite a bit in Philly just being here, and just knowing that it's not New York.
Shouts out to Jay for bringing us back to topic.
Right? Because I'm like, y'all, we're ranting.
She does.
That's the whole.
We're
Didn't I
ranting.
say this before you jumped on? I said we're going to start off talking about something, and then we're just going to go somewhere else with it.
We were clearly supposed to be talking about our previous conversation.
But we're going to.
I know that you're limited in time, Will, so I'm trying to keep everybody on track.
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's
We
okay.
can have the conversation without Will.
Yeah, you guys. Y'all can talk without me. I can just jump right back in.
We've done it before.
Yeah. Well, but you know, Philly for us. I mean, coming back, I said to Shay, I said, you know, when we were living in an apartment the size of our basement that we're sitting in now,
Right.
you know, it was literally like the size of this entire floor, like from the door to the back door.
I don't even think it was that big.
I'm being generous.
Okay.
But you know, and I said that we can either move to Richmond, but you know, Richmond's not gonna really I mean,
I
Philly,
didn't want to move south.
Philly, we can hit New York in 2 hours. We can hit DC back in 2 hours. We can go to the Poconos. Where Shay's like, you never take me to the Poconos.
Still waiting.
It's cold. I don't go.
I'm still waiting.
As a matter of fact, y'all plan the Pocono trip. We'll show up.
I'm with
I
that.
mean, hey,
But
I'm
not,
down.
But I'm not skiing. I'm being in the lodge the
Yeah.
entire time with my sweater.
it's a cute little getaway.
Like everybody's been already, Will, but me.
Shay, just
Jake's
plan it.
been,
Shay, you been to the
Lick's
Pocono?
been.
Jay, you been to the Poconos?
I have not been to the Poconos.
Oh, you haven't been? Oh, okay. Well, then we could do that.
Nope.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I thought you guys had gone.
We can go, or we can do the Poconos, or we can go to the Catskills. I like the Catskills.
Catskills actually sounds nice. I feel like everybody goes to the Poconos though.
Okay, we can go to Catskills. Doesn't matter.
So. But yes, but I mean, Philly has really.
You just Lion King it out.
I did, but no. But I mean, for us moving back to Philly, I preached it
It's
to
an opportunity,
Shay.
too.
It was an opportunity too because I said the home prices like this. I was telling this one fair I had when I was driving that we looked at this one spot up in off the Germantown beaten path, semi-detached home, 209,990, wooden staircase that goes up with a skylight.
Staircase.
It was nice. And everyone I talked to, they said, bruh, the heat and the electric bill about to be crazy in there because it's an old home. But I was like, no, it's good. And then my dad was like, you know, you guys should really think about moving over here because of the kid. And because at the time we only had London. I was like, yeah, you're right. But, you know, we could probably get into private school, stuff like that. Because I'm thinking like, I'm making good money here in D.C. I can make good money up there. I'm chilling, cool, boom, boom, boom. But then it's, you know, by happenstance, I'm watching the news. There was a murder about 2 blocks from where that house was. I said, nope, we're not moving there. We're not doing it. I'm not going.
Can't do it.
Not doing it. Nope, we're gonna go to Jersey, and then that's when we came over here. But I mean, this entire area, the Philadelphia area, is gonna pop because. You know,
It's changing.
It's really changing. I mean, over here's a little slower because we're not in Cherry Hill. We're not in Morristown.
I still think
we're not
this area is
We're not
changing
the area
since
where
when we came.
Right, it is. I mean, people are really starting to buy now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, our neighbor just bought across, and then we have one down here. So when the time comes, we can easily just put this up on the market and, you know, do what we got to do. But
Yeah.
this area is slowly changing, and it make me fall back in love with the city a little bit, especially with me driving. Because I'm like, oh, this is parts of the city I haven't really never explored before, even when I lived here. So yeah, I feel you, but I mean, it's not DC because it's not interconnected. There's no real after hour type. Let's social network. Let's build each other.
Everybody goes home.
Everybody goes home from Philly.
Yeah.
Like, time to go home. Time to go home. Let's go home.
But that's because Philly is still a grimy, gritty city.
It is.
And I'm sorry, I'm not coming out at night.
Unless you're going downtown.
Unless I'm going to the pier.
I know people won't look at this like we're hating so bad on Philly. Like, y'all haters, Philly haters,
Listen,
don't come across
everybody
that bridge.
knows my moniker on Twitter is Jersey Housewife. I am so proud.
Don't get it twisted. I love my sports teams.
Jersey Housewife.
I'm glad we won a championship with the Eagles. The Sixers are looking good. The Phillies are actually winning. The Flyers may actually do something. You know, the Soul been doing whatever. We got all these other teams, but I'm
Where else would you move to?
Plus, the season tickets are still fairly low.
Like seriously,
to get
where
in.
else? Think about it. All of our families are on this I-95 corridor.
They are. That's like the biggest thing. Just our family being on the East Coast.
Because you did a stint out in Missouri, though.
Oh, I
For
couldn't
school.
stand it. I couldn't stand it. It was literally
Me and
like
my dad both would
yeah,
agree.
yeah. It was just like I just had
Not
one
Missouri,
mission.
Missouri.
Right.
Yeah, Missouri,
Right.
sorry.
I just had one mission to finish school, get my education, and bounce. And literally, I was at my graduation ceremony. It was like, "Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dean. Bye." Like we we left like the next day. So yeah, Midwest.
Would you
no,
attend?
Thank you. Would I?
Where'd you attend school?
Oh, University of Missouri, Mizzou.
Tigers.
Yeah, you're right. But
What made you go there?
well,
Out
the
of-
the journalism program.
yeah,
is
that's right.
really
They do
good.
have a really good-
They have a great program, and
Shout out to the journalism
yeah,
girl.
it was really good. And I did like Chicago when I went. Chicago was really nice.
I love Chicago. I fell in love with Chicago. That's
yeah,
where I would
Chicago's
move
really
to,
nice.
babe.
Whoa.
Did
Did you just not see the news update about the bodies that dropped on this Labor Day weekend? I'm cool.
I
I'm
just
straight.
said I love Chicago. That's where
There
I
are
would
parts of
move
Chicago
to.
that are really nice.
I mean, if I
Really
if I lived anywhere in Chicago, it'd be downtown
yeah,
in the Trump Tower.
like near the Loop,
Shut up.
like in the Loop, like near the Loop area.
Yeah,
It's really
the
nice.
loop is really fun.
Yeah, I've never been to
By the
Chicago,
river.
but I heard that they do a good job of really pushing all that violence out of the main area of the city.
Yeah,
Probably
Yeah.
because every time I go, it's like, "Hi, how you doing? Welcome to Chicago."
It gotta be hella
Right.
nice. It got to be so you could stay.
So I do have a brother who lives in Atlanta. I wouldn't mind visiting Atlanta, visiting
Yeah,
Georgia.
Atlanta is straight visit only.
Really?
So
Yes.
yeah,
Only place I would move to
is
in
over
Georgia
Atlanta.
is Savannah.
I don't even
Savannah.
do.
I would move to Savannah, even with the ghosts. I'll move to Savannah.
You're so crazy.
If it's below
It's the most
south of the
haunted- it's the
border,
most
I
haunted
don't
city.
yeah,
care.
and that's my thing. It's like anything below that Mason Dixon. I'm like,
I mean,
Maryland's cute, but I can't go past
Texas.
I can't even do
Yeah.
Maryland.
yeah,
Maryland.
it's Texas.
I could. Austin?
No,
I hear.
not Texas. I'm talking about taxes
Oh,
in
Texas.
Maryland.
You said Texas.
Austin, Texas, yes.
Is lit.
Yeah, I hear Austin is
Austin's
dope.
the new
Austin-
spot.
Austin
Austin's
is
the new
nice.
spot.
He's been to Texas. I haven't. I really want to go with him because apparently he's had the experience of life.
Oh,
So-
Yeah, so I
Okay.
got a chance to go
I
to
really
San
wanna
Antonio. It was typical South, so it was nothing crazy about it.
Was it real Mexican food? Like real Mexican food?
No, the Tex-Mex is legit.
Yes.
Yeah, this.
Yeah,
It's all about the food. Like
Yeah.
I would
It
move
is.
someplace because of the food. Like
Yeah.
the food here is great.
Texas
Like,
And
has
I got-
barbecue, and for
Oh.
me, I can enjoy my Mexican Tex-Mex.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah, I feel
definitely.
like
Yeah, that barbecue is on point. Like that barbecue is so good. Even when you're full, you're like,
yeah,
bro, let me
certain
get that
part-
plate.
if
Let me get that
I
plate.
if I visit Texas and if I find like a good area, because I feel like Texas, the image of Texas is kind of like city, but it's eclectic. Like it still has that really cool vibe.
I mean,
to
after
it.
really
But I think it
watching,
also depends
what's
on
that?
what city.
Exactly.
What's
That's what I'm
that,
saying. If I
uh,
find the city, I would consider it.
What's that
'Cause I
show on
like Texas.
HGTV where with the married couple?
Oh, Chip and
What's her name?
Chip and
Oh, yeah.
Chip and Dale. You know what I'm
No.
talking about.
Yes.
Rescue Rangers
No.
with the magnolias and all that.
Yes,
But no,
yes.
but I mean they make Texas look great. And plus, I want to buy a truck. I want to pick up truck so
you wanna
bad.
pick a
But
truck?
I'll say
Okay.
this:
With a shotgun hanging from the back
Austin
window.
is way different from the rest of Texas, from what I've seen so far. So
Okay.
I got a chance to see
Chip and
Fort-
Joanna.
Chip and Joe.
Joanna, yeah.
I got a
Chip
chance
and
to
Dale.
see
Yeah.
San Antonio, Fort Hood, Killeen, and then you go to Austin. It's like, whoa, this is a
Yeah.
major city here. It's
Mm-hmm.
so, it looks so displaced. It's like a small slice of New York in the middle of Texas.
Because I had a friend who actually lived in El Paso, and she was like, "Girl, I need to get out." Like
believe it.
She was just like,
a
"No,
little
this is a
swamp.
no for me, dog."
Yeah.
Like there was nothing to do. It was all flat land. Like it was bad. But I've heard Austin is the exact opposite.
I hear Austin is the up and coming, especially for black black folks who want to do well. They have a great city, great nightlife, and the economy is really good and really good for families. So I'm like, check. It seems
I
really good.
know.
A friend of ours was talking about it, and I was just like, this is, if there was one place that I think I might want to go to explore, because I've driven through Texas, I've been to Houston, I've stopped on the airplane in Dallas, but I would love to explore the air. Like you said, Jade, I need to find the right city that fits my personality, that I'm like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, because I mean, New York, I love New York. It's always going to be home for me. But I have lived outside of the East Coast, and I understand that there is a different way of life outside of it, and it could be really nice depending on where you land, how you find it.
I think that's also the problem with us East Coasters. We're like,
because you have to settle in your mind that it's not going to be that.
Well, that, and I feel like everything is here. Like, we have 4 of the biggest major metropolitan areas.
Well, that's what my friend from the West Coast said. He
Toronto, New York, DC, and Miami.
Well, that's
Miami, Atlanta.
My homeboy from the West Coast said that he was like, you guys have it really easy over here because you can hit a major city within hours of just quickly driving. Whereas, like, you're in LA, it takes 6 to 7 hours just to hit San Francisco. You know, and we're not just talking about, like, other small towns and, like, whatever, like LA area.
California is big in general.
There, or even if going from San Francisco to Portland and Portland to Seattle, or stuff like that, or you still got to drive 4 hours east to go to Las Vegas. So I mean, we have it made over here. I think that's one of the comforts of living over here, and it's how it allows us to still be connected to family who lives here.
Right.
It allows you to take your kids or go see your cousins, your grandma, auntie, whatever, and boom, boom, boom.
Just hop in the car and
go. Whereas,
even Florida isn't that far.
Right.
You can be in Florida depending on where you are. Well, depending on where you are. But you can be, like, if you're in,
like 20,
in say, like Richmond, Florida. I mean, to get to Miami, but if you just want to get to Tallahassee, that's a 10-hour drive.
Right.
You're there.
That's kind of true. Yeah, I mean, it depends, and it's just kind of like, I think, again, that would be our kind of second chapter in our lives, like after the kids are grown up and in college, and
plural.
Oh wait,
so
sorry, Greg. Greg can't get back home for another like 3 decades.
So it's that's for right now. We want to be with family because so much is happening in our life, and so it's good.
None of that, but I think this time is really important to you guys because you need each other. You're establishing the bond that Will and I are establishing now, but I think you need that time where you have to rely on each other. Yeah. Because there's, no outside. You're not necessarily, your family is within probably hours drive, but they can't get to you like immediately. So you have to resolve everything.
I remember telling my uncle that we were moving to Philadelphia. He was like, I see what you're doing and I understand. I was like, thank you.
And I raise your glass to your uncle too, because I know.
Yeah. So
and I think you do. Sense. Like, I honestly think that's why Will and I had to move here. Yeah. Honestly, we had to move to a place that was, for us, we needed to be a few minutes from help from a family.
Like 10, 15 minutes away.
Yeah, but we needed to be isolated enough where we had to, learn to depend on each other because we weren't going to do it in DC.
Right.
Because we each had our social circles and we would gravitate to those social circles for help, assistance, guidance, whatever.
Yeah, and I was gravitating towards my single friends.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
I don't. I mean, when you're
that goes.
No. I mean, for real. Think about it. A lot of times before you get married, a lot of your friends are single. For real. They're single.
Absolutely.
You don't have a lot of married friends. So when I was going,
especially at 26,
yeah. So I'm taking advice from single men, single women.
Right.
Like, I'm like, okay, cool. Shay, on the other hand, you had some friends who were in deeply committed relationships.
By that time, a lot of my girlfriends had been married or were entering into long-term, which turned into married
relationships. Yeah.
So it was a learning piece for me, especially moving up here to do that,
definitely,
and to build us together that way. I mean, especially for a lot of men who are really holding on to, the reason I'm bringing this up because we're kind of transitioning into our strawberry. Not even say strawberry letter because there's already copywritten and trademarked. Yes. We're transitioning into the Two Cool Parents letterbox, and we've had.
I like that Two Cool Parents letterbox.
So
we had a listener write in,
or 2 CP letters.
Yeah, TCP letters.
Ooh, yeah.
So we had 2 TCP letters come in, and I'll start with my version. So we like to keep people, nameless, to protect the innocent.
Anonymous.
But this gentleman writes in talking about how his wife is feeling some type of way about.
So let's set this up. This young man is married and has been married for quite some time.
They've been married almost 10 years.
10 years.
Oh, okay.
But they got married very young.
But they're very young.
They also have 3 children. It's 3, right?
Okay.
3 children.
3 children.
Right.
And now he is, I won't say what career path he's in, but he's transitioning into a new.
He's transitioning into a passion for him as well.
Yes.
So he has a job and a passion. And his
Okay.
passion
Yes.
is slowly taking off.
In
But
the
of course,
entertainment business.
In the entertainment business.
Okay.
But he
Is it the entertainment business?
No, it's the entertainment business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I just want to
It
clarify.
parlays into
But
a world
sometimes,
of entertainment.
like for people that do know him, I joke with him and say that he does porn.
Oh my gosh.
And there you have it.
I'm like, yeah, he does porn.
Hilarious.
But no, long story short, she feels that
His wife ain't happy.
she feels that he only is upset about his job and doesn't post on social media about them, but when he's out in his main job, he posts when he's out with his other co-workers and stuff like that, when they go to a bar, this and the third. So she feels as though, does he feel that he's offended by them in any type of way? So
She's having a very insecure moment. as a
it
woman.
was an insecure moment. But then when he reached out to me in reference to it, I said, look, dude, this is what you need to do. Y'all need to have a real conversation. Communication needs to be the full key. And you guys need to have a full-fledged, face chat convo. And he said, like, we did it before. And I said, yes, but now consistency has to be the key. And especially with your passion project,
Say it again, babe.
consistency has to be the key.
on.
Yeah.
And with your passion
That's all
project,
we women want is consistency.
but the thing,
show up when you say you're gonna show up.
but the thing is, like, with the consistency part, I said to him, like, I know you have your passion project, which is great, but what you should do is make a separate page, so you can focus that passion project. Well, good to know that he made a page dedicated just to his family, and he's now posting
Nice.
those photos of the family. And I reached back out to him. I said to him, well, again, stay consistent. He said, man, we had a 2.5 hour face chat. I'm like, good. That's what, and stay
Absolutely.
consistent with it. Especially with your job right now, you need to make sure that you have that great communication, because that's all that relationships are, is communication. Us as men have to be able to communicate with our spouses, whether you're married
significant
to
others,
or
for
significant
those
others,
who are
whether you're
long-term.
married to a woman, married to another man. It's communication is the main focus. Shay can tell you, I did not talk for months, years, until like I started, confiding in other people, and then
So he started talking to old dudes.
Oh, that could go either way.
It
Right.
could, but at least these old dudes pointed him in the right direction.
right.
That's good.
So again, it brings it
I
back
shouldn't
to
say older, excuse me, more seasoned
Distinguished
gentlemen.
gentlemen.
Distinguished gentlemen.
so you start having
you, Jay.
so again, it's that conversation piece where
by
you,
vernacular.
where you need to build upon. And I know a lot of fellas, y'all gonna say, oh, I don't talk about my feelings and stuff like that. Like, look, you got feelings. You have, like, great. Be honest, you have feelings, right?
Absolutely.
So you feel like if you need to talk, you have to reach out to another man who is married and understands what you're going through. Not a single friend, because your single friends will be like, dog, we going out.
Right.
We going hang.
Right. They don't understand that
Thank you.
where I'm at in my life
Right.
right now to even give that sort of advice. So you can't rely on a single friend.
And I think, like, just in communication, even in that position, you have to also have the conversation of, okay, what am I going to put on social media, and what am I going to keep privately?
I
at
think
home?
that's very important.
You know what I mean? Because, me personally, I don't really share too much about my relationship, my marriage, because that's something that I'm choosing to keep private. And it's something that, like, my husband, he's not doing the social media thing, so that's something that's
you have
not
to find
even...
the two of them. I know where to find Jane.
Right, it's like something that he's not doing, which is fine. And so it's like, I've said, okay, this is my private life, this is for me, But if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. That's not something I'm hiding. So you have to have that conversation of balance of like, am I hiding it, or is this just part of the brand?
Well,
But social media is sticky anyway.
Yeah.
it is sticky. That's what I
feel
told
like
him.
that's one of those things that, yes, it's very personal because it's your
Yeah.
personal social media, but when you're married, when you're, in a long-term relationship and you're committed to someone,
Right.
you have to realize that it's also a part of them as well.
Yeah.
And they should be, brought in. Because I remember Will used to be like, oh, you don't have any pictures posted of me. Well, Will, you don't take any pictures. So I can't post any pictures of you. Or he'll be like, well, I don't know what to post. Well, Will, you don't post. You post weird
Yeah.
stuff.
I post
Like-
stuff that makes me laugh, and if it makes me laugh, I like to
Right.
pass that
I post,
laughter
like,
on.
And I post random pictures about like books and
She does.
like clothes and shoes and "Ooh, I like this dress today." It's totally just like, this is Jade's thing.
It's
like,
a blog.
It is
You
cute.
made it a blog, like a straight
yeah,
blog.
like a little blog thing. So
yeah, I don't. I'm with
if Greg
you.
happens to come into the shot, I don't mean to say it like that, babe, but like if Greg is like in the room and in the atmosphere, yeah, he's a part of my life. He's gonna be there, but it's not something where it's like, this is part of my thing, because you make it into like a brand. You make it into
absolutely.
like, I'm deciding my entire
People make a lot
family.
of money off of that.
Yeah, like I'm deciding my entire family is coming into this, but people are crazy. I don't want everybody to be knowing everything.
And I agree. There should be
crazy.
some parts of you, and I've always said this, my marriage is not up for discussion for anyone.
Exactly.
I do not discuss my marriage with anyone except for my husband.
Yeah.
And that's
Perfectly.
just,
Exactly.
yeah. I can give all
Absolutely.
the advice in the world. I'll share you any anecdotes. But when it comes to the day-to-day discussions, that's between me and my husband.
Absolutely.
And I think it should be, there's intimate moments that we have because we're both growing as individuals.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're both changing. So where we were even a week ago isn't where we are today.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to be transparent with just your spouse or your significant other allows them to then be transparent with you as well. I think that's the key because it builds trust. It builds some sort of firm foundation that you need in order to make your relationship truly strong.
And social media is a a blessing and a curse, and for anyone to feel as though that they need to see themselves validated through it in their relationship,
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
you need to have a step back and really
Right.
understand. I mean, especially if you see your significant other posting like, oh,
That's hard,
they're out and
yeah.
stuff like that.
That's hard.
Like, I was telling this gentleman, I was like, "Look, man, sometimes I post about my family, sometimes I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll just if I see something I like, I'll send it to Shay, say, hey, at least I thought of you.
Yeah.
To say, to show you this and all this and all that. So, I mean, I'm not saying
Like
at
giving
least I thought of
something
you,
just
but
to her.
No,
it's like, hey, this would be funny.
Right.
Oh, I'm gonna post it later, and I don't post it, but I
I do the
sent
same
it to
thing.
you.
I'll send
Yeah.
some stuff to him. I'm like, oh, I know he'll get a kick out of this. Like,
Yeah.
this is right up his alley.
See, it's not weird. It's funny. Thank you.
I get it. That makes sense. Yeah. So I mean, it just depends. You have to be very transparent nowadays. But also too, it's like once you really put your relationship kind of out there, even as vague as you put it, or you could just be all out and do whatever you want to do, people will still just have so many opinions and try to kind of bring their opinions to whatever
Absolutely.
you're doing. And that's a hard pressure in itself.
It is.
You know?
And I've experienced that with just Will and myself. So
Yeah.
a lot of people, would look at us and feel like we had it all going on.
Yep.
Or we had like this perfect
Yes.
marriage, this
Relationship goals. Yeah.
And, that's not the reality.
That's not the
like,
reality.
Yes, do we communicate? Yes, I feel like if you listen to our podcast, you really get to know who we are more so than ever an Instagram or a tweet or anything like that. I'll never forget the time I was on the bus and Will's coworker, I had tweeted, when you're tweeting in a conversation, it doesn't always catch up with the conversation.
Yeah.
So your tweet might be 3 or 4 posts later because the conversation is happening so fast. Mm-hmm. And so I had said something like, something about being single, and his coworker saw it, just that tweet. and blew it completely out of proportion.
Oh gosh.
Texted Will and was like, she's talking about being single on Twitter and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, if he just scrolled up a little bit further, he would see I was responding to someone's comment. We were having like a chat. And so I think that's what a lot of times happens in social media is, you know, we're responding to different things, stimuluses and stimuli. Thank you. And
public relations major.
Listen, the stimulus package is real.
The stimulus package and the stimuli.
We're responding to different environment. How about that? And so in that, our response could be taken always out of context. So I think the wife of your friend, she was very feeling some type of way because she didn't see her representation on his page. Especially
because he's so out there. If he wasn't out there, it'd be like, all right, but...
And not only that, that's something totally different than what he had been doing previously. Right. So it was kind of like, okay, now you're doing this new thing in the entertainment business and I'm not a part of it.
And entertainment, you have to make that clear. If you are in entertainment, you have to make it clear that you are an item because,
won't they come for you?
I mean, they will regardless.
To my man's defense, on the Book of Face, it's there.
The Book of Faces is different from Instagram or Twitter.
Right.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. Of course we know.
So you get on Instagram and Twitter, you could be who you want to be.
Yep.
And I'm sure there have been some things that may have crept in his DM or his, you know, IMs or message, whatever it's called now.
Yes.
And it was inappropriate.
Yeah.
But because that's his public facing page, that's who they see.
Right.
And they don't know that, let me go Google him on the Book of Faces and see that he's married with 3 kids.
So from a woman's perspective, how would a guy really manage that? I'm in the entertainment business. I'm looking to, you know, promote my business, highlight the things that I'm doing, my successes. How do I manage the business and my family?
And so
Facebook?
I'm glad you brought that up because I had a client who asked me that. So I have a client who does her business page is also her personal page on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I said, it's great, but you've got to separate the two.
Yeah.
The reason why is because when people want to deal with you with their business, they don't necessarily want to deal with you personally. If you've got stuff going on your pages that's, now I'm not talking about, let me put this in perspective. So when you're dealing with a business entity, I feel like you should promote your business entity, whatever that is. So yes, that includes if you're an actor, if you're an artist, there should be pictures of you and your fans. There should be pictures of you at your craft. There should be pictures of you with your family too. But they might not be the main focus. The main focus is you and your brand and your business. Now, if you want to have a personal page that's like, this is, you know, me and my house in Beverly Hills, and these are my kids, and these are my Range Rovers, and whatever, that's fine. But I think you have to keep it separate. The reason being is because, like I said, when you're dealing with business, things can be taken out of context. And so if you are a brand or entity, I'm thinking of an artist. If you're an artist, an upcoming artist, and you've got all these pictures of just interactions with you and your fans, but you're happily married at home, that creates a conflict because all she sees at home are all these ladies on your Facebook or Instagram or Twitter in your DMs, all these things. You might be laughing, joking. She sees that as you not being, or you not caring enough to put her forward.
So for someone who's an artist, would you create a different a different page with a different name, or do you keep the same name? Because I would think as an artist, you still, because, you know, you as an artist, your name is your brand.
Absolutely.
So I would assume you would have to change your name or
make
some sort of deviation of your name.
I feel like it's a growth process, though. Yeah. So, you know, when you look at an artist,
depends on what you're doing.
Like what type absolutely.
Of artist you are. Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. When you look at Beyonce, majority of her pictures are just of her.
Right.
It's what she does. She's performing, she's singing, she's at home, she's doing her thing. Every once in a blue moon, she drops a jewel. And that's what everybody craves, is a picture of the babies.
Right.
To see the babies, to see Blue. Nobody cares about Jay-Z, I'm sorry. he is just her purse right at this point.
Damn,
I'm
bro.
so sorry
Stay doing the
to
hustles
just
like
do
that.
that like that, but he is clearly her purse
Oh,
right
bro.
now.
We're just there.
I
I became the purse at church.
but
I became the purse at church.
Will did become my purse.
At church.
They introduced him as Shay's husband.
I'm
and he
Shay's
felt
husband.
some type of way.
I'm like, I'm Shay's husband. I'm really, I have
He
a
had a whole
name.
conversation about how he felt like he was a purse.
I am a name. I have a name.
Jay-Z, yes, he
And
is co-signed.
Jay's like, listen, I'm straight.
He-
He seems he's like, all
I mean,
right,
does he have
you
a
got
choice?
it. All right, that's question number one.
There you go. So he's got to be a Birkin bag right now. And he's a very expensive Birkin bag, but she carries him around, right?
Yep.
But that's the reality. That's her life. And I think she does it well. She's one of the artists that does it well.
Yeah, she does.
Because she gives you a lot of bit of who she is, but really all the important stuff is kept really close to the vest.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way you do it in business and entertainment. I think you keep whatever your business is, whatever your drive, whatever your focus is out front,
Yeah.
but keep your personal life personal. So I have 2 pages, my business page and my personal page. If you go on That Girl Shay, that's me and my family. Talking about colors, rainbows, unicorns, whatever grassy knoll I'm sitting on at the moment. That's me. That's my everyday me.
Right. I think that's a great point, or at least have that conversation with your significant other saying, hey, this
This is what I'm doing.
Facebook is just for my business. I'm not trying to really, throw myself out there as far as personally, but this is just for the business. So if you
Yeah.
don't see too much of you up there, that's not to knock you. You're the most important thing. This is just for my
Exactly.
business.
Now to get kind of what we were talking about even further, I'll push that your question even further. When we get into entertainment roles like a Amber Rose, someone who is very in your face about her sexuality, someone who is, a model, someone who
Yeah.
kind of their brand is sex.
Right.
They look good, they sell it. It's hard, I think, and it's probably why she pushes for so many gender roles to be, to be chopped down, because I think there comes a point when a woman should never be judged by what she has on, by what she does, by what her job, her profession is. She should be Amber Rose first. Whoever Amber Rose is, we should get to know that person first and then deal with whatever the
Everything else,
baggage is.
Right. And I totally agree. I think, just as human beings, we all are due that, a level of respect.
Absolutely.
But again, like we were just talking earlier, it's just, I understand Amber Rose and what she's doing, and I'm all for it.
Gregory, I loved your transition. Thank you.
Trying to get,
I just
trying to get my pod
just
skills.
had to
Trying to get my
just
pod skills.
slide that in. That was smooth, dog. High five across the table. Did nobody else catch that?
I did,
he
yeah.
I sat
He
here
does
and
this
just
all the
watched it
time.
happen. I said,
He
"Oh,
does
we're
this
going
all
back
the
to this
time.
again."
Yeah.
Yeah, but what we were talking about earlier at dinner is just, people may have a certain perception of you based on what you wear. If I'm on the bus stop, with beat up clothes, holes in my shirt, you may think that, a certain thing about me. Maybe think I'm
But I'll
homeless.
just probably say that you have on Kanye West's couture collection. So
Exactly, right?
Exactly.
In two
You ain't
small
know. I
shoes.
paid $2 for this shirt. Like,
I mean, that's the reality right now.
all right.
But I feel you, and I feel like we do have certain stereotypes that are ingrained in us. So yes, when we see someone who looks like with the holes in their pants or too tight shoes, we identify them as being bummy or homeless.
Right.
Like you said earlier, at dinner, when we see somebody in a business suit, usually they're, unless you're in the mafia or the mob, they're usually a banker or some
as we're
sort
watching
of.
Godfather.
That's why I said it.
But remember, American Psycho wore a suit. Just want to put that out.
Who will? But they hold some sort of corporate job.
Sweet.
Right.
Someone who's, very refined must be, an artist or a dealer or eclectic or something like that.
I'll give you an example. I was in Queens at a Walgreens on Linden. Go to this Walgreens all
Back
the
in the days on the Boulevard in Linden.
bully, baby. But I was in this Walgreens and just had like some regular clothes on, just jeans, workout t-shirt, just heading in there. And no one was like trying to help me, like help me find what I was looking for. I didn't want to ask for help or anything like that. But one day I went in there with, just out of work in a suit, full suit with just no tie, and everyone's coming up to me. Oh, can I help you? Do you need help with anything?
Of course.
And then even the customers,
Non-threatening black man on the premises.
Yeah, but
Right.
even the customers, it was crazy to me. Even the customers, I'm leaving, and it's like I'm parting the Red Sea. Everyone just, go
Nice
ahead,
black
brother.
man
Go
coming
ahead,
through.
go ahead,
Come on.
brother.
Come on.
But right, I'm still the same person. I was just in there just a couple days before with jeans and a t-shirt on, and it's people bump into you, don't even ask you if you need help with anything. But
It's Trayvon Martin all over again.
exactly.
You were in a hoodie and a t-shirt, and unfortunately, you looked like you were up to no good. Those were the words that George Zimmerman used.
Right.
And so, regardless of the fact that you hold a corporate 9-to-5 position and probably make more than George Zimmerman, you were a bum that day, and you were threatening. And because you're a black man, you are you are here to take my white wife. But there are people who think like that, And so we are born, or I didn't say we're born, but we develop these stereotypes. I mean, we have them in our own community, When we see the loud girl, that's just, she go over there. She ain't got no man. She can't keep no man.
And no, it's really bad, and it's just one of those things where, especially, just being a black woman, there's kind of that way that you kind of are raised, and you have these ideas of like who you should be and how you should prepare yourself for someone else, and it becomes very
We got static. Where's the static coming from? Is that better? Did I make it better?
no, I
little
can still
bit.
hear it a little bit. You just have to unhook them.
Might be his mic.
Oh, yes, there we go.
It was the mic.
Yeah,
Sorry
it
about
was.
that, everybody.
Yeah.
Will stepped away and left his mic on.
So yeah, it's a matter of like how as women we're taught to be a certain way, we're kind of groomed to be itemed with someone else.
Exactly.
And so it can be very difficult to kind of nowadays we're in a position where it's a little more accepted of us having our own opinions and us at least listening to our argument or our case. But it is still very difficult to assert yourself at the moment, depending on where you are, depending on who's around you, depending on
Absolutely.
it's just so many different factors, and so it really can be difficult to kind of break through that stereotype. Because even in my own head, I'll say, yeah, I could do this, but technically, is that what I'm supposed to do? So.
And I've said this before to my coworkers
Yeah.
who, are of a different skin complexion. You can say that.
You could do that,
But I can't.
You could come in with purple hair.
because
I can't.
Exactly. Because
Right.
I'm not afforded the same luxury because I have to work twice as hard. I can't basically slip up at all. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the same thing happens when you want to dress sexy, you want to embrace your curves, embrace your body. You either get slammed, body shamed by everybody in the media or whomever. Friends and family are the worst usually.
Yeah.
My dad always reminds me that I'm fat.
Yeah.
Just it is what it is.
Yeah.
I know I'm curvy, daddy, but sheesh. And it's things like that just
Hey, Curvy is in, right?
hello. I showed him Ashley Graham and he was like, well,
Yeah.
Don't nobody want skin and bones no more.
thank you.
Look hungry.
And he ain't even skinny no more.
Right. Isn't that the funniest thing?
It is. And I have to tell
Not
him to.
right, not talking about your father.
I know, that's okay.
But like just the dustiest of dusty dudes.
Don't they?
Talk about
And that's what's
I don't
wrong
want a
with
girl.
Philly.
I don't want a girl who's not a size 4, and they just in double digits. I'm like, sir, but why? You look crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do feel like this perception of beauty is now thrust into everyone's face.
Yeah.
It's still the same, the lighter, the better.
Yeah.
That rhetoric is still there. And so I think it's become harder for women harder in some instances and then easier in others. Back to your point, Greg, which is we want to be able to be ourselves, showcase ourselves and still be respected for our bodies. For some reason, a lot of men think it's okay to just touch women whenever they want. Whether that's casual, like we're, you know, I'm thinking like a couple of us are in bikinis and all of a sudden it's like a casual, hey girl,
Right.
you know, and
And
you
the
land
hand
on my
goes
butt.
right down. Yeah.
That's never cool, you know. And at some
Right.
point, I don't know, maybe it's in us mothers to ingrain in our sons that that type of behavior is
never
not
happen.
acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, that you don't, even in a casual environment, whether you know that girl 100 years or not, you know, it's not okay unless she tells you, you can put your hand on my butt now.
Right, and just to your point, growing up in the South, you know, I mean, we're never really taught that. I mean, guys all over the country, really, and just being with my wife, even before we got married, she took me to a feminist panel
believe
talk.
that.
Yeah. And
I believe that. Why am I not surprised?
but
I'm
I
sure that
had-
was a date of hers.
right.
She's like, hey, Greg, let's go to this feminist rally. He's like, yeah.
No, she didn't even present it. Let's go to this panel. There's a writer there who I really admire. who's
Got
gonna talk.
it.
And then we get in there. It's like, it's this feminist panel. I'm like, what? What is
You're the
feminist,
only
what does
guy
that mean?
It was
there.
a test. I was like, how is he going to handle this for sure?
And but the thing is, unfortunately I had that stereotype, like, oh, they hate men and this, that, and the third. But when she broke it down for me, you know, feminist is just women wanting equal rights as men, you know, not feeling lesser as their male counterparts. And when she got into it, really helped me understand, like, oh, okay, it's not what I've been hearing in the media, what people
Right.
make it seem to be.
Yeah.
And when I went, though there was only a handful of men there, I did get something from it. You
I'm
know,
glad,
hearing all these women's different perspectives on things that they encountered throughout their lives and what is appropriate. It made me really reflect on, okay, there's some changes that I need to make that I thought was okay, which really weren't okay, even though some women won't address it to you.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that, as a guy, you need to, if you're going to be in a serious relationship, or as a guy in general, because you have to deal with women in some capacity, you got to really go outside
Boundaries.
your box and learn about where that boundary is, because you're never taught.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that, because when I was listening to you, I heard two things. The first thing was, it's something that you were doing subconsciously. Like, you didn't realize that there might have been actions that you were doing that you realized may have been compromising, I should say. And so you wanted to correct that. The second thing I heard was that the women who might have been in those positions never spoke up once to say.
Right.
So there are two issues here. The first one is us women, mothers, I'm saying us because I'm a mother of a young man, not teaching our sons how to behave with women,
Yeah.
and teaching our girls, I'm also the mother of a daughter, how to speak up and say, hey, I don't want to be treated this way.
Right.
You know, or holding someone accountable for their actions. Because a lot of times that's how situations happen. And I know we were talking about rape culture earlier, is because women don't feel empowered to speak up. That's really the basis of all of our arguments, is that we don't have a platform often, or we have to force ourselves. It only when it becomes so great that we have to, you know, there's nothing else that we can say. There's nothing else that we can do. We've hit a glass ceiling. We've talked about, at least on this podcast before, we've talked about how things are swept under the rug in families. They don't want to talk about issues like Uncle So-and-so has a problem with touching on little girls. It's just swept under the rug, you know, or that's just what he does.
Right.
The issues are both on men and women to own. And that's really what we have to do.
Yeah.
And today we have to own, and we have to have these dialogues. So, Greg, I encourage you to talk to your male friends. You know?
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing of it too, because it's like, because I feel like that's what's been happening so much. You know, it always feels like it's kind of a woman's job in a sense
Right.
to teach. And it comes down to the fact that point blank, another man is not going to necessarily listen to me. Like I hope he will listen to me, but in terms of teaching me, like another man has to speak to another man. And
well, there's often two people who believe that a woman can't teach a man anything. So there's people out there.
Right.
But mothers have been raising boys for hundreds of thousands of years. So I don't understand where that logic comes from.
Right. But it's like, as a man who is talking to another grown man, who is talking to their boys, like my husband is going to raise our son if we have one. He's going to be there too. And I think that having a conversation of not only coming from me, but also coming from Greg as well, of saying like, this is like what you don't do, this is what you do, and calling it out. Like, men need to call out their boys. Like, is that ever gonna happen? Would you ever men need to call out their boys?
Tell your boys like, dog, that's not
ridiculous.
Cool.
You a coward.
Yeah, I've done that before, and I think it does happen with a lot of guys actually. Yeah. But the thing is, it's more so for those extreme situations where a guy will stop another guy like, whoa, what are you doing? You can't do that. But for those minor in a guy's mind, what we would consider to be a minor offense, a lot of those things get slipped under the rug.
But then
like in a sense where
it's a huge thing,
right? Yeah. Right, and you don't know how that impacted that woman. You don't know
exactly
if what you just did to her psychologically.
And a part of like feminism too is like, yes, you want to be seen as an equal or as a partner to your male counterparts, but you also want to be believed. You know what I mean? Like, for so long. I think that's
the whole issue with the Bill Cosby thing. Right. Was all these women came forward,
and so many people have the question of like, well, why did it take so long?
Yeah.
If it really happened, they wouldn't have waited this long.
That's what killed me, was if it really happened. That type of commentary.
Right.
Yeah.
It does something to my psyche that angers me.
Yeah. Right.
Because why is it that when we speak about it, it's untrue?
Yeah.
I could understand why a lot of the women didn't come forward until someone had to break the ice, because even if you look at like someone like Monica Lewinsky,
yeah, right,
she will forever be known as the woman who had an affair with the president.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know, again, someone who's 21 years old. She
also made $1 million writing a book about it. So.
Right. Opportunity.
She capitalized off of that.
Opportunity. But the point I'm getting at is, she was 21 years old at the time.
Yeah, she was young.
And whatever conversation she had with the president at the time, I mean, what sort of power do you have in that situation? What can you say?
Exactly.
What can you say no to? What can you... I mean, because even in her role professionally was to support...
She was an intern, yeah.
She was an intern. She was in a
absolutely.
supportive role professionally.
And it would have cost her job more than less if she had spoken up about it.
But even more than that, the point I'm getting at is, you're talking to someone who's potentially, the highest office of the world, the free world at that time. How do you go you can't go contrary to that person's word. It's kind of hard to.
I hear you.
I think a lot of people put in that situation, whether it was a woman president and a male intern, or a woman intern and a male president, that would have played out the same for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it does happen to men too, a lot more than what we care to admit in public the public eye, because a lot of men, I'm finding out, have been abused by older women. Yeah. I actually had no idea this ever happened. Like, I was seriously ignorant to it. Until I started talking to friends and just having these conversations. And I realized that a lot of men lost their virginity to like 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Like, that's unheard of by like a 16, like an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, how does this even happen? But it's a babysitter, it's big sister's friend, and so there's these women who are also, in terms of power, if we're talking about your hierarchy, at 9, can you really say no to, you really don't know to say no.
Right.
Or, however old you are, you really don't know, because you've only seen what with your little mind, saying little mind, but with your 9-year-old or however old you are when your virginity was actually taken from you, as a man, did you really get to make that choice?
Right.
Did you really get to say, this is something I want to do? Probably not.
Yeah.
Right, and then just in guy culture, something like that is like a badge of honor. It's another notch in your belt.
Yeah.
Not realizing what that did to you, what sort of path that led you to. So that's another thing with going back to our conversation about how men are treating women these days. That bravado, that bro code of, all right, this woman is known to be promiscuous. Yo, you need to get that, bro.
That's the thing that gets me. Guys in an entire group will sleep with the same girl.
And then trash her out.
And trash her, then dog her out. Like, I don't understand. Like, Jade, if you ever was dating a guy, he's completely off limits. Like, even if you
Exactly.
on a train to him, I cannot come within 30
like,
feet
nope,
of old
can't
boy.
do it.
Even
Can't
if
do
I
it.
want to lick his boots,
like-
I cannot, because girl code says that is off limits.
No.
And so I think there's this dynamic with men, especially when it comes to women, how things like that, like you said, it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And so if you get inducted, quote unquote, into our bro code, and they joke about it, like, yo, she was trash.
Yeah. It's
but
crazy.
I hate though.
It's crazy.
To me, I'm just like, at what point? I feel like as a mother, I would have failed my son if he was a part of that.
Right.
Like, I really failed raising my son. I really hope when Christian gets older and somebody says that to him, I hope he's like, dude, that's all you.
Yeah.
Because the girl I want is not somebody that the whole crew has slept with.
Or like, and it's just crazy. It just blows my mind, because it's just like, why would you, like, it's like everyone had like a taste of it, and then but you're like, nah, it's your fault that we had the taste of it, and then, but we glad we all did. It's weird.
It's
just
really
strange.
weird.
Yeah.
Greg, can you shed some light on? I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No.
And I'm not trying to make you speak for all
I'm
men.
not tunnel buddies.
But
with
I'm just
anyone.
trying to understand why that is acceptable for guys. Because it's not for girls. You can't come within 10 feet of our men, regardless of if we dated them 10 minutes ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to the culture, the peer pressure of, all right, being able to be one of them. As a guy, we tend to try to find acceptance, and this is something that I've really come to notice with just a lot of men who are athletes, a lot of men who are part of any sort of fraternity. And I'm not bashing those things, because I myself, I was an athlete in college, but there's a good amount of guys, not all athletes or people in fraternities, but there's a good amount of people who want to have that, want that camaraderie, that want that acceptance, and they feel in order to get that acceptance, they need to do something that they can brag about. They need to do something that will prove their loyalty, that will prove that, hey, I'm one of you.
Yeah.
It's almost saying like, hey, like you're wearing an ASICS shirt, so let's go steal an ASICS shirt.
I mean, we should all wear ASICS shirts. They're really
Hey,
comfortable.
we're like the same, we're on the same team. We got ASICS,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, because I feel like those are the situations that young ladies fall victim to.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that those situations and instances, and I know you brought up, specifically like fraternities and athletes, they are notorious for those reasons for rape culture.
Right, and I just bring that up because that's, in the media, what tends to be the main people who get caught with those sort of things. But this is spanned from
nobody is.
Listen,
Yeah.
this is not specific to athletes at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going on all over the place. It's just, again, you have people in certain organizations, certain limelights, that this comes to the media. This hits the media before anything else.
Yeah.
These are the cases that we actually pay attention to, because we can identify such and such with this team or organization.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's usually part of some sort of initiation or bonding, or some sort of, camaraderie. Like this is why we are men together in this fill in the blank organization.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks.
It really does suck, and it's just kind of like as women, if you decide to, even just date, just the assumption that if I'm dating you, I've automatically slept with you. And chances are that's like not the case. So it's kind of like if you have dated, 3 or more men, it's kind of like, well, you surely you
people want to know what your body count is,
right? And it's just like
why is that even important?
Like, why is that even an important thing? If I did, if I didn't, it's just kind of it's frustrating, kind of the side of like you're either the biggest hoe on Holand's Lane or you're the virgin that just plopped down from heaven. It's not that women don't have that middle ground.
And actually, both sides are seen as bad.
Right.
Because virgins are, even though it's a virtue, right, a lot of people are afraid to say that they are because they get such a negative stigma behind it. Because then it's like, oh, the problem must be you.
Right. The issue must be you.
Yeah.
You must be really awkward.
Yeah.
Have you kissed anyone yet? Have you done anything? It's like, all right. And then it's the other end of it, which is like, are you dirty? Are you, so it just, it goes both ways. Yeah. Of extreme.
So how does that conversation go with, between other women just talking about sexual experiences, virginity? How does that conversation go? What sort of position does that put you guys in prior to being married? What position does that put you guys in as far as like having these sort of discussions? Do you guys feel awkward? Do you have to feel that you have to play along with whatever the narrative is in that conversation?
Greg, I think we need more wine for this conversation. Gregory. But I'll let Jade go first, and then I'll jump in. Everybody hold on to your seats.
We're getting a little too deep. Too much.
Not at all. This is the Two Cool Parents podcast, and everybody has a cool but corny lifestyle.
No, I don't know. I never felt awkward or odd with my girls talking about things. Because I've done things or had experiences with things, so it's like, I think everybody is always at a different level. So I never felt like I was trying to one up another friend of mine or like.
Did you have that whole friend though?
Well,
that whole friend that put everybody to shame.
Right. Well,
I was like, girl, you don't know how to do fill in the blank, and you I didn't even know you could do fill in the blank. But let me take some notes real quick.
Exactly. I did have that friend who is like, I do have that friend who is like,
current.
Yeah, girl, just try it out. Just see, blah blah blah.
The first cowgirl is fun.
It could be real nice, and I'm like, I didn't know. Like it's like, hey, this person has knowledge of what they're doing. Like they're a consenting adult who is like, this is what I'm deciding to do and to enjoy. And I know my boundaries, and this is what I've done, and I can tell you, I could help you out if you want the help. So
yeah, I don't think it's when you're talking to your girls, it's almost like we're going into class.
Yeah,
like there's always one girl who is
she got it.
She got it going on.
she got a syllabus.
Fellatio like none other. You've got a girlfriend who knows how to ride like none other.
Yeah.
And then there's everybody who's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And so our experiences always kind of like we learn from each other. It's never I don't have to one up her. It's more or less like, well, girl, tell me how you did it.
I would know.
Yeah, I need a demonstration. like sometimes you're just like, well, listen, girl, here's this apparatus. Like, show me what it is that you do so I can do it. Do you use a breath mint? Like, that's what's up.
Yeah.
So that's how I gained experience and knowledge. A lot of the stuff I had seen growing up was from a male's point of view. So when I talked to my girls, it was finally from the female's point of view. A lot of my early sex stories came from my brother, which is probably not a good person to talk to about relationships, but that's where mine came from.
Right.
So he felt like I should be fully prepared for the world. I appreciate it, bro. He gave me great advice. He really did. He really gave me great advice about how to deal with men. And so at an early age, I knew I could play up sex and not actually have to do it.
Right. Yeah.
So I could do this game of cat and mouse and get out very quickly. The hard part was when you actually felt something for someone and you wanted to do it, I then would feel very shy because I would then be forced to deal with my emotions. So as far as, if I could play with the guy, I could do this cat and mouse game, and I was really, really good at it. I could sneak around the sex part and not actually have to do it.
Actually have to get into it.
And because there was no it wasn't to me, it wasn't an emotional attachment.
There was no loss.
Yeah. And so when it finally became an emotional attachment, I realized how virgin I was, so to speak, in the area because I had never truly experienced it. Right. And so my first time was very horrible because I didn't know what I was doing. And so I then had to realize I needed to talk to a group of girls who could help me, who could help me get over the fear. And I remember just talking to a group of girls and they were like, well, what did you do? And I was like, I just kind of sat there. And it was like, well, did he? I was like, I think he hated it, but
I don't know.
I haven't heard back from him.
Right.
And so then I felt bad because I had played myself up to be this really good person.
Sex
and
goddess.
It was terrible. So I felt good because I was able to freely talk with these ladies about that experience. And then they in turn really helped me. So it was kind of like, all right, well, now you've got to, especially if you really care for this person, which for me, I didn't give myself unless I truly had an emotional connection with that person. And when I did, it made it that much better. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that again with my first because he was just like, nah, this is terrible. But I learned from my mistakes, and I still, even in my marriage, I make mistakes. I told Will the other day, I was just like, I still have trepidation about some things because I'm still very much so a novice when it comes to a lot of things. Yeah. Granted, you might look on and be like, oh, Shay got this. No, honey, Shay really. There's a lot of things I'm scurrying the web for. What is this?
Yeah. It's a language. It's a whole language that is constantly changing.
Because it's not. Yeah. And not only that, but the world is changing. And so sex is becoming more, it's not just behind closed doors.
It's not as taboo to talk about.
Yeah. Especially with your husband, or your significant other. It should be a conversation that, as Will and I have learned, we need to talk about it more. So somebody is someone who's come from someone who was sexually traumatized, I should say. In college, I carried a lot of baggage into my marriage. And so being able to talk to Will about situations and frustrations and his, I should say, sexual level versus mine, especially when you throw in kids. So just so you know, when you get older, your libido goes up. But when you have kids, your depression goes up as well. Mm-hmm. So you deal with postpartum depression, and I had it really bad after Christian. So I physically couldn't because I was depressed. Mm-hmm. And so just him caring and understanding and us reconnecting and just everybody's like, oh, well, you had kids. Well, yeah, but I don't want him anymore.
And every pregnancy is different. So
it is. And this one was much harder. Just the physical stress on my body. Because he just, a little too technical for some people. So if you need to, just turn it down a bit, but turn it right back up because we're coming back at you. But he implanted so low in my uterus. So most people know that when you have a baby, it implants in the uterine wall, and that's how you have a baby. It depends on where. And so he was very low, so I had to put a stent in me to make sure he didn't fall out. So yeah, things you learn. But that kind of thing, like those stresses, those emotions and things like that, they don't go away immediately after. Christian's only one. So I dealt with postpartum depression by myself for a couple of months, and then finally Will was like, babe, you really, like, you're really going through something. I can see something in you.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fine. And it was because I literally jumped back into it too fast. I didn't allow myself to heal. Yeah. I went immediately back to work, and I just tried to be super mom.
Yeah.
And at some point I realized, I just was like, all right,
You gotta chill.
I gotta regain myself.
Yeah.
I've gotta, because a part of talking about sex is feeling sexy.
Yeah.
And
that's a big thing.
feeling,
And that has nothing to do with your husband.
No.
Like, that is absolutely nothing to do
That
with
has
it.
absolutely
it's
in
it's
here.
all
when they say sex is what, 80%, 90% mental, 10% physical.
No, seriously.
For a woman, that's
Yeah, for a
exactly
woman,
what it
yeah,
is.
It is.
It's all in our head.
Yeah.
And for us, I've got to feel sexy
Yeah.
in order for sex to come out. Otherwise, I'll just be, come and get it, babe. Laying there.
I mean, Jay, you just get naked. I'm just like,
Right.
You ready?
Right.
You ready?
Newlywed bliss.
It's like
So you guys are a little bit different. This is like 5 years,
like
two
latch
kids.
onto the leg. Just
but it's still very much like, because there's so many things that I'm also thinking about in my head too that I didn't get, that I was like, Dag, this sex is really about the mental part, because it really is like, I could be thinking of 10, 20 different things, but I have to make the decision to, like,
You do.
be
You
in
have
the
to turn it
moment.
off.
Yeah. So that's been,
Is it
like, a
hard? Have you
stress.
found it hard to turn it off?
Sometimes it's really hard to turn it off, just because you.
That's fair.
Yeah, just because, I am thinking about so much with, my own body, and every day it's just a different. I was like talking to Greg earlier about kind of my energy levels and how throughout the day I'm either feeling like really good and I feel like
Energy is important.
energized, I don't feel tired, and then after maybe 3-4 o'clock it starts, my energy just starts going down and down, and it's and it has a lot to do with eating, it has a lot to do with like my own physical habits, and that comes right into the bedroom,
Yeah,
like
it does.
just not feeling good really, and not knowing why you don't feel good, that's been like a challenge for me for sure, of just like not feeling it.
Well, that, and let's be honest, you've had a lot of
new
emotional
things.
changes.
Yeah,
So something that Greg can get over very quickly: a move, a job change, steady employment.
Hello.
Things that
Hello,
Greg
good
had
night.
already enjoyed,
Yeah.
from being here, because you were here, 6 months before her?
yeah, roughly about.
Yeah. So you had established yourself. You had a chance to learn your route every day and get yourself together. So being new and then coming together for the first time,
Yeah.
living together, for a woman, that's a lot to unpack.
And I underestimated it too. Like, I was even
Yeah.
like, oh, it'll just be up the street, and I'm with the person I love. Like, this is gonna be like not cake, but it was gonna be
Like
an
pie.
easier, yeah. Like, it was gonna be a nice little segue, but we're gonna keep going. The program is gonna keep going,
And then real life
you
hits.
Right.
and you're like, oh, that's
And
This
to
is
me, that's the
new.
fundamental difference between married people and single people.
yeah, absolutely.
Is when you're married, when you unpack, you have to realize that you unpack together.
Yeah,
It's no longer your suitcase and his suitcase, it's our suitcase.
yeah.
Because really your mental health and physical health affects Greg. Same thing with Will and Shay. So when Will gets seasonal depression. So he's one of those vitamin D folks. He's got to take it more in the wintertime
Yeah.
because without sunlight, he kind of gets like, ugh. And that's like my prime, like, hey girl, it's the holiday season. I turn up for the holidays.
You were lit.
I am holiday Holly.
Little reindeer bells.
Reindeer bells
Clinging
on
in
my
our ears.
head. I am holiday Holly. Yes, I am. And I will, ho 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 up anybody's.
Yep.
Not that one, but festival,
Know what you mean.
holiday
Know what you mean.
caroling. I will ho 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 up to anyone's house and sing some carols. Thank Thank you. I'm married. I'm a respectable lady around here.
Exactly.
But Will be blue.
Yeah.
And he's very grinchy. And so I've got to kind of like,
Deal with that.
get a little eggnog going.
Yeah, I could definitely, I feel you on that, because even for myself, and I know you're going to say something already. I see you looking at me. But in the morning, I can be real groggy, real slow, real standoffish. But that's just my process of just trying to get up.
Right.
And it's something that I'm trying to be more conscious of, because I am married now. I'm not, it's not just all right, when the alarm goes off, I can pop up out of bed and just go.
Right.
There's another alarm that happens
A
to
whole
be
other person.
an hour and a half earlier than mine. But
Don't you hate that? Don't you hate when that 7 a.m. alarm goes off?
7.
Mine is at 5:50 in the morning.
6.
Yeah, mine's at 6.
His is at 5:50 in the morning. I'm just like,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
it's that old school, like, I just want to like take the phone and like slam it. Because for me,
Yeah.
I'm not a riser before like 8:30. Like, I don't want to be bothered before then.
I'm a riser. I'm an early riser, but the thing is, it has to be on my body schedule.
Yes.
It has to be on my
So
schedule.
I can wake up, but that's different from rising.
Right. So
I can be up, but not out the bed.
So Jade, my wife's alarm goes off at 6. Mine's usually around like 6:30.
Yeah.
to
30 minutes is
6:45.
crucial.
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 Because the thing is, by 7 o'clock, I'm up. When I'm out of bed, I'm going. I need the lights on. I'm going a mile a minute at 7 o'clock, and I'm ready to go. But that's 6 o'clock.
It's too early. It's too early.
Yeah.
5:50 it's dark
ungodly,
outside.
right.
It's still dark. And I usually like jab them.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person particularly, but I am getting a little bit better with waking up earlier because now my body is like, okay, this is my time, and that's why this is actually my bedtime. This is actually around my bedtime.
Jada's like, girl, I gotta get out of
Just
here.
let everybody know it's 9:36.
It's
I gotta
9:36.
go,
Like usually, I
'cause
try to be in bed by like.
We still gotta go across
10.
the bridge to Philly.
We gotta go.
So can we wrap this up?
Usually I'm in bed by like 10:15.
So this is a late night for you.
It's a late night. And I be
I'm
like,
so proud of you, girl. Because you have been present in here.
I've been present. Yeah. So that's like my go time to go upstairs and just kind of unwind, have my tea, read my Kindle,
Just for the
read my
tea.
book, whatever it is to kind of get my brain to shut off. But my wonderful husband, and this is like his time to shine. He's like, babe, let's watch a movie. Let's
Yes.
I'm like,
I'm watching a movie. I'm getting work done. I need to get done for tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm cutting up
and I'm just
food
like,
for tomorrow.
I'm
oh my
with you.
God. I'm
So
like,
I think Greg and I are
Greg.
on the same schedule here
Oh my
because this
gosh.
is like around 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Once the kids have been asleep for about a good hour, okay, it's go time for mommy. I finally have
gosh.
some time to myself. I can either read or do a Kindle, or I'll come down here and Will and I will cut up, laugh,
Yeah.
joke, have fun, record a podcast.
Yeah.
We'll do a little bit of, a bunch of different stuff so we can have art together in this time.
Yeah.
But also it's for me to just enjoy winding down.
Yeah.
However I want to do it that day.
Yeah.
Because I'm not necessarily going to be, all right, I'll stick to my book tonight. Some nights I wind down, I just fall asleep right here.
Yeah. My winding down is like definitely a process of like, I want quiet. I don't really want a lot of noise. Like I just want my tea and I just want to go to sleep.
Okay.
Like I'm very much kind of like,
You want to wind down by yourself.
Yeah, I want to wind down by myself, and of course, Greg being there, it's like he has to be there. He's my husband. I can't not have him there winding down. But when I'm ready, I'm kind of like, okay, babe, I need to be quiet. Just like
Turn the TV down.
yeah, just can you turn it down a little
You're
bit?
too loud.
Can you just settle the house?
What I miss?
Settle the house.
Everything.
Everything.
Let's
Jay
world.
telling Greg he's got to be quiet so she can wind down at 10 o'clock. The
yeah.
volume has to go down. The lights have to go down.
Oh.
Greg has to be shh.
But you know what, Jay, you got your tactics. Light a little incense and I feel
house.
myself dozing off. I wake up, I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
I've been looking.
I get the house,
I've been typing the
like-
same sentence for like 30 minutes now.
I get the house calm, because there's an energy to everything. So it's
There
like
is.
I choose it wisely. Like after 9, it's like, all right, it's time to just chill.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think Shay, you didn't really do that with us. No, like when I come home, it just be,
I either just pass out
It be
or-
loud, music, game. I mean, then
But I'm a
sometimes
social butterfly, so
Yeah.
like
sometimes I
that's
just put
one
my
of my
headphones
halfway
on
personas.
and like just jam out.
Now Will is probably like you. He wants to be in the zone. He doesn't want people to bother him. He just wants to chill out in the dark.
Yeah.
In the dark, like I'll turn like if it wasn't for the fact y'all was here, I'll turn these lights off and just let the candles glow
Yeah. Yeah.
while I'm watching
Same.
a movie or playing Xbox or something.
Yeah, y'all two on the same page
Yeah.
with that
Yeah, I
dark.
come like
Why
everything.
is it so dark?
Why
in
is
here?
it so dark in
It's
here?
not dark in here. I can see
Right.
everything. Eat some carrots.
Yes. Greg be putting on the ceiling light. I'm just like, Greg, you gotta turn off that ceiling light. There are
there
other
be
lights
light.
in this house.
Let there be light.
Yeah,
We paid a bill, right?
yeah, but I don't want that bill today, so turn it off.
So
Turn that
it's,
mess off.
So it's
Sorry, I
Welcome
missed.
back,
I
William.
had to step away for a conference call. I'm still currently on, but yeah,
He's multitasking.
multitasking.
look at you.
But we're
You
getting
know.
ready to wrap it up though, babe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
This is Jade's bedtime.
Jay's bedtime.
9:36.
Did we talk about her doing her book?
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Why
Jay's
is-
first
why
book
is
coming
Will
out.
back? It's
2019.
It's not.
Yes.
Summer
It's
2019.
not.
Jay's first book.
2019. We're ready for it. We're claiming
not.
it.
Jade Olivia.
Ooh, Jade Olivia writes.
Oh my god.
What?
I think we just put you on the spot completely.
I sure did.
You really did.
High five, Will.
Thank you.
August of 2019.
No, it's there's no date.
I'm gonna go with August 2019.
There's nothing.
She'll also be doing NaNoWriMo month coming
Oh,
November, so
Okay.
check her out.
So that means you'll be back on the podcast real soon.
It's a
Absolutely.
lot of conversations happening at once, and I haven't agreed to any of it. So
Are
you
you
know,
sure?
these
You
are
don't
just
have to
rambling.
agree.
But you'll be
These
back
are
on the
just
podcast.
ramblings.
We're married, so what
These
I
are just
say is what you say. We're
ramblings.
together.
Will
You are passionate too.
possibly I will be back.
Yeah, you know,
But,
possibly
you
you'll
know.
be back.
possibly.
Greg, just drop her off after work.
Greg does work over here.
I know. It's it's good.
She could take Patco
It's
over.
it's
Yeah, take.
I'll tell you we're going
You
to
can
Trader.
take- what you can do-
I'll tell you we're going to Trader Joe's. We're really just come here.
oh my god.
What you can
Perfect.
do is take the bus, get caught with those stops. Have the bus driver put the person on with the ramp, make it to the Broad Street line. Get stuck down there
I'm done with Will.
to get to take on the blue line to
so
get to 8th and Market. And we'll pick you up from Lindenwald.
Hop on the speed line with all of Lindenwald's finest.
Oh my god. Yes. It's good times. It's just
She is writing a book, so
I
we're
am.
excited and we're supporting and we are encouraging her through her writing and her process because we want to make sure that we support her.
yeah.
So whenever she drops the book, we will be eagerly awaiting.
Yes. Waiting with bated breath.
Yes,
But we'll be waiting.
but we will be waiting on the podcast.
Yep.
We're gonna and now you have to
And
listen
then,
to our podcast.
and then when you become a
know.
bestseller,
Oh,
you were here
God.
first.
Here we
Yes.
Here we go.
Oh, and then you be on the straight air like then we will get girl.
Tell you, man, books dropping this summer.
I know, it's dropping
August
this.
2019.
Yes.
It's gonna be.
I'm here with you. She's birthing
Greg
her
really
baby.
talks a lot, and Greg is so encouraging. I'm so happy.
I was about to say, he-
She's saying with like that
supporting
face
you.
of like I hate you right now, but for sure.
I took her phone one day. I texted her friends, "Hey, my book just dropped. Check me out."
It's gonna be a
I get
long,
it back to.
And fortunately, my homegirls was like, "Was that Greg?" I was like, "That sure was."
it's gonna be a long drive home.
You always know when it's your husband. They do. 'Cause
What?
first of all, there's not enough emojis.
Yeah.
And we're talking memes now. So
Oh yeah, we do talking memes.
me and my girlfriend's having an entire conversation in memes.
Yeah. That's true.
I think we did too one time.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
What
There
else?
were no words.
So what else
No
did I
words.
miss?
We talked about feminism and
Okay.
the Good Old Boys Club.
Okay.
How you guys can all share the same girl. And it'd be cool.
We didn't get too much into that.
We did. Greg was by himself on an island, but he did speak intelligently.
All share the same girl and get away with it. Explain.
Let's not.
We have to wrap it up though.
No, just give me the spark notes.
Okay, so basically we were talking about how
You already gave me the plot, now give me the meat.
that was the meat.
No, that was the plot. Give me the meat.
That was the meat.
You gave me the
You
intro.
get away with it.
Difference between the plot and the meat.
Well, the plot's like, oh, here it is, boom, and then you got delve
He
into
means
more.
Will actually means he needs the lettuce, tomatoes, and bacon.
Yeah.
He needs the stuffing.
Yeah.
Everything.
Add cheese too. Come on, real quick.
That's it.
So we get away with it? How do we get
Yeah.
away with it?
How you guys can all share the same woman and it's okay.
And then you trash the girl.
And trash her
I never
afterwards.
shared a woman.
I'm glad. I married
'Cause
a man
and
who
for the
never
re- and for the
had high
record,
five.
I hope I said this before. That wasn't me.
You never
Yeah.
stated it for the record, but
Okay.
thank you.
Never shared a woman.
Thanks, babe.
Actually, but there was this one time, right?
See, here
But
we
no,
go.
but here's what the thing is. But hold on, here's the thing. She played herself. So this was college, senior year. I was messing with this young lady, right? But then I'm like talking to my home, like, yeah, I'm kicking with this shorty, da 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 da. And he was like, oh, what's her name? Her name was blah 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 blah. And he was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, yo, is this her? And it was a picture that she sent me. I said, yo, that's her. Yeah, dog, I just got this picture a couple hours ago. I said, what? So I was like, yo, let's get her. I text her, hey girl, what you doing? He texts her, yo, what's good? I'm cooling. Oh, thinking about you. Oh, really? She like, what you doing? Hanging out with my homies, boom and boom. And then he texts, I'm hanging out with my homies, Will and Boom. Oh, y'all trying to get me, huh? And we was like, danger. She smashed a homie. Like, that was, I don't share.
Thank you.
I don't share that.
I'm glad you don't.
That's good.
Yeah. My homies used to get mad at me about that. Like, my one boy really got mad about me. He's like, man, yo, let me get her. I'm like, bruh, I put in work. Why would I give you
Right.
what I
That's
put work
weird.
in on?
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's the weirdest thing.
Like, oh no, yo, come on, man, yo, I'm like, look, when I'm done, then you can. But I'm not done yet.
See, again, that done, then you can. That's what we were talking about.
Oh,
So because
that part.
here-
We didn't really get into that.
That
We didn't get into that.
We
We
didn't
didn't get
get
into
into
that.
We didn't talk
Done is
about
done.
that.
Like, done is
done is not done.
Our conversation was more on like,
Don't you do this to me, Gregory.
okay.
No,
Okay, that's
Greg,
fine.
Greg, stay in your ground. Stay in your ground.
She called
Stay
me
in
like
your
my
ground.
mama right now. Gregory?
No, nix that. Stay in your ground, bro. What you about to say? Say it. I'm back here. You got support.
Hold on, I gotta check.
Sorry,
my-
Jay. You
you
gotta
got
put it another like 10 minutes.
You got support on the front lines.
Let me check with my CEO real quick. My wife is giving me side eye.
No, real quick. Come on,
She
man.
give
I'm
me
here
that,
now.
like, I'm ready to
Come
go
on.
home.
Continue real quick.
Continue real quick.
Permission to speak?
He
Yeah.
said permission to speak. Lord. You running a tight ship over there. I need to take some clues.
She be texting me,
Can we
man.
talk offline?
She be texting me on the booty. Got it.
We're going to put my podcast microphone down and we're going to have a sidebar conversation.
See, go ahead, Greg. You were saying, bro, the done is not done, but it's done.
We was talking about just that whole bravado, that brotherhood of, okay, wanting to be accepted so that guys will go out and have sex or do whatever with the same woman sometimes. That often falls in the case of people in the same organization or sport. And that's where it really falls.
Superhead.
That's a good point.
Superhead. But she did it to herself, though.
So again, about that whole done, I'm still there.
Well, see, my definition of done is like here's the thing. My boys even got on me about this when I was back in the day, because they were just out here doing whatever they wanted to do. Like, I mean, well, actually, I had a real conversation with one of my homies. He was like, "Man, I was knocking drinks off before they started looking good." Now I was like, that was smart of you. Good job. Because now I don't want them.
I'm confused, but okay.
What?
So basically, we were talking about.
I understand.
You got me. So
I
the
follow you.
fellas listening, they understand. So basically, what he's saying is that when we were having this conversation, he was like, "Man, you saw what's her name?" I was like, "Oh yeah. I mean, she really glowed up now. Like, yeah. You know, I knocked it off back in the day before she even glowed up." I was like, glad to know.
How was that smart?
Huh?
Was she not interested in her as a person?
Well, the thing is, back then she wasn't as cute. Now she is cuter.
so there was no physical attraction.
What?
You
So
just
was it
slept with
like
her, just be
a
sleeping
was it
with
like
her?
a territory
For
thing?
him?
Like you
Well, yeah,
were
for him it
proud
was
that-
like because it's him. He had no care. Me, I did. I mean,
So were you like proud? Like was
He's
he
like,
proud
yeah.
that he got her before?
yeah, that was his thing. That's his thing now.
Weird.
He's just gloating about it now.
He's like, oh yeah, you know.
I don't think I'll ever understand the
Men
male
are different.
species.
It's a different thing.
That's weird.
So about this
This level's to it.
stop business. So after you
Let's stop
stop,
business.
I think that's you, baby, your microphone, because we had to turn your microphone.
What y'all doing to my mic? See,
I didn't do anything.
it's the kids. It's the kids.
But yeah, it was like, so for us, when we are finished dating someone, they're completely off limits forever.
Yeah, for guys, it's like it depends because if it was like a smooth breakup,
Good answer.
if it was a smooth breakup, then it's like, hey man. No, it's a good
He's
answer.
right,
It's a
he's
good
right,
answer
he's right.
because it's just
It-
like
it really depends.
It really depends. Like if it was a smooth breakup, where like yeah man, I still got feelings for her, but she's a good girl, this and the third. That's like in happenstance. All of us got divorced. I approached Greg. Hey Greg, would you be all right with me taking
Fuck
Jada
no.
out? See, no, right? Boom, correct. But now look. Now let it have been on some ish, and they had like a real tense breakup, right? A real tense one.
They was married.
Oh, but a real tense one. Like
Oh, I see what you're getting at.
You see-
I see what you're getting at.
Apples to oranges.
no,
though,
it
Will.
was not apple to oranges. No.
It's not. I get what you're saying.
Break it down.
I get what you're saying.
Break
So
it-
he's saying that like, out of spite to you, I want my boy to
Go, yeah.
whatever.
So now she's trash.
Boom.
Men are.
like
up.
out of
But no,
anger,
but-
out of spite.
That is.
The only difference between men and women when it comes to that is that we would have the code to go talk to each other about it. Whereas if it was the other way around,
As stupid as you
So
guys
wait.
think men are, we're very orchestrated.
we're very orchestrated because
No, but it's stupid.
No, but here's the crazy
So
part.
wait,
But here's the
yeah.
crazy part. But now
Not
let's say
in- not in a good way.
now let's put it on the other side, on the other shoe, right?
Okay.
When it comes to y'all, and let's say Shay was that sneaky type of person, after y'all done, she could just slide in on him if she was that type of person. And that would be something totally different because there are women who don't care.
There are women who
Don't
don't.
care.
Well, we got guys.
Well, we got guys who don't care.
We
We
got
have-
guys. Yeah,
there are
that's on both sides.
But the thing about women is that if you guys have that close knit type of friendship, that man is cut off. Period.
Absolutely.
Right.
Period.
Right.
But for us
Greg
dudes,
has been cut off since before and after.
But there you go. But
Same
but,
with you, babe.
What I'm saying is, as an example here,
So I'm gonna just let me put it in perspective for you, Will.
So if
So if we break up,
right,
you cannot date anyone in Hampton.
I know
Past or
sucks.
present.
I got the.
You cannot date anyone in New Jersey, past or present.
I would have to actually get a white girl.
You would literally have to move to the West Coast.
I would have to get a white girl.
and they not
Swear
be
this-
related to me because you know I'm related to 95% of the people in the population.
I know you. That's the sad part. Someone was a Rolling
so
Stone.
so wait, so if your homeboy breaks up with his girl, and it's a bad breakup,
Homeboy can get her.
homeboy can get her. But what were you trying to?
with a pass though, he needs permission.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, partly. Yeah. I mean, there's the 95% that
I mean,
need the
I
permission.
get
There's
the
the
code.
5% that just
Like-
says.
We're not
I'm
saying
gonna
that we
be
can
sneaky.
we
Right.
condone it or anything like that, or that's something that we do. But what we're
Is there
saying,
a certain time period that has to
Yeah,
pass?
at least 6 months to a year.
Okay.
depends.
Depends. Because within that 6 months time, depending on how your relationship was, said person can try to get back with that girl. But if there's like, you kind of like checking in like, yo, man, what's going on with you and so-and-so? Man, I ain't checking for that no more, dog. I'm over here. I'm kicking it. Okay, cool. Then you let it slide for a little bit longer. It's like, yo, that's what I ran into. Yo, would you be all right if I took her out for coffee?
Don't be looking in my eyes and say
feel
this,
like
bro. Don't
that.
be looking at me like that.
I'm not saying this, but what I'm saying is
Let's
that's
go out for coffee.
But that's the conversation. That's the conversation. That's literally the conversation.
How did we get from jumping bones to coffee?
Well, you say coffee.
Oh, okay. Coffee is the key word. Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's like Skittles. Got it.
Pineapples.
Coffee.
Well, but that's the.
Because I got it milk. Got it.
Nah, not
stirred.
really. I'm just saying it's coffee. I really could have just been taking it to Starbucks.
The point is he's like,
know.
I'm giving the
I'm
interest.
interested
I'm
in her.
interested in her. She's
Yeah.
cool. Boom, 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 boom. There you have it.
Now I can see if it was like a situation where you never knew that this person was with someone, and so you didn't find
Yeah.
out until you were already in the relationship.
Well,
But to me,
If it's a close
I found
person,
out, if I found out that Jade had ever come in within like a certain radius of someone that I was interested in, I would just completely break it off just off of GP.
Same.
Because I'm like, that's too close for comfort for me.
yeah. I mean, I have seen.
And then that's like,
I've seen it
that's a
happen
lot
before.
of, you know. And then women, we're just different. Like if I know my home, especially if it's something where it was like a breakup that was
Right.
somewhat needed to happen
Right.
from her end. Like, girl, I needed to, you know, I'd be like, you know, I'm gonna trust my homegirl.
Thank you.
Because I just, yeah.
Because something happened that probably I don't need to be over there with.
Yeah.
He's either immature or
Yeah.
whatever the situation is.
In today's world, some women don't care, especially if a
I
dick
mean,
pic
yeah,
happens to
there's-
fall on the internet. Oh, girl, you saw that? Like you showed me that video of Safari joint, but that
That's
girl was
it.
like, Safari, we gotta prepare for it. Like, come on, dog. Like, women don't care.
There are a lot of women out there who
They
you know,
don't
would
care.
jump.
They are just jock jumpers.
They're
They
jock jumpers.
Wow.
ready to go just hop on it. I'm sorry.
They're taking the bunny ranch to a new turn.
Yeah, jock jumpers.
Jock jumpers. Wow, this has been
What else
an
did I miss? Real
enlightening
quick,
episode.
real quick. What was the other thing I missed? So we got the book. Talked about the homies. What else?
That's kind of it.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Welcome back.
Oh, I missed it.
I know,
did we
you're
go to
trying-
TPC 2? The second letter? That was it? No?
Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know if these two have it in them for the second.
No, they
one.
probably don't. It's all right. We can hand it around. I mean, I just missed 30 minutes because of a conference call. That's
I
all.
know.
Sad.
Do you guys want to hear the second letter?
I want to hear it, but
I can make it quick.
Okay.
I'll make it really quick.
It's going to be quick.
Be quick. I'm shy. I'm quick. Will says I'm a little too quick. So the second letter, I'm void of emotion. That's my problem. The second letter is a close friend of mine, also married, newlyweds, and they're having a communication breakdown. So they have opposite schedules. So she goes to work during the day, he goes to work in the evening, and there is no overlap time where they see each other.
Not even on the weekends.
On the weekends, yes. So the issue is whenever situations arise where they need to talk, it's usually when one of the other is at work. And so, as everyone knows, work is never a good time to have important conversations.
Never.
Right.
But they cannot wait until, you know, the problem is, I guess I should say this. The problem is when it's evening. Number one, she's been home for hours with the son. And when he gets home, it's really late. And so, you know, she tries her best to stay up and wait to talk. But a lot of times she falls asleep. And the other half of it is when he comes home, he's ready to decompress. So he's ready to jump into a game. He's not ready to have that conversation, that heavy conversation. So talking to you guys, what is your opinion, or what advice can we give them to find the best time to have the conversation? Or when is the optimal time for them to take time to have conversation? Because we've decided that the conversation is the most important part, but really it's the communication that they need to be having. They need to be having more communication with each other instead of they're literally just two ships passing. It's almost like they're in a roommate situation.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it's easy to kind of fall into that routine. I think that what's kind of helped Greg and I out is we don't have, it's not as similar in the sense of like schedules, because once we do see each other at night, we're able to like come together. But I think definitely during just kind of taking any moment that you can when you're together. So even if that's like a car ride, or even if it's, you know, when you two maybe have a chance on a Saturday morning to wake up and just kind of be in bed for a little bit and just talk. Or if you're, you know, even, really traveling, like if they have a moment to like be together talking in like a car or in proximity where they can kind of have a moment to kind of get away from the crowd, and really kind of have a sit down to chat is always a nice thing. I think like as a woman, we do remember quite a lot, but I think also even taking down like little notes of like, hey, this is actually what I want to talk about. Like I want to kind of talk about X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, 3. Like I know that this is coming up. I know that this is something that we planned on what we want to do, you know, towards the end of the year. So let's have that moment. Let's kind of put it on the calendar. If it's something you want more formalized, put it on the calendar. But if it's something that, you know, you just, as a woman, it's like you take little moments, bits and pieces. And it's like, I have an idea that when Greg is kind of ready for a heavier conversation, and when it's like, okay, this is the moment when it's like we're talking or he's playing cards or watching movies, like this is obviously not the time to bring it up. So
I'll drop another tidbit into this.
Yeah.
There has been an issue in the past where she has brought her mother into the relationship.
Ooh.
And sorry to add this caveat into your wonderful
answer. That was a really good answer.
It was. And I was like over here like
level 2.
Yeah, I actually wanted to add something to her answer too.
But let me just say, so prior to this, mom was brought into this, and she actually left with her mom at one point. And part of the situation and frustration is that this mom kind of would, you know how moms are, they're
She has no
overbearing.
boundaries.
Yeah. You want to restructure
now-
your answer?
What's your answer now?
Well, I
Go ahead, Greg. What you got?
well, first of all, I love your answer, Jay.
It was great.
It was a great
Jay.
answer.
Because the thing is really,
those were all the things I gave her too.
I think one of the keys in our relationship is that not everything needs to be addressed right away.
Right.
You know, there's something on my mind. I want to address it, but you know what? Again, you just got off from work. You need to decompress. We'll just go to bed, and then when we have when we have a moment together, we'll talk about it.
24 hours is the best.
And just, yeah, exactly. And the thing is, just keeping in mind that, you know, we're married. I don't think you want to leave me. I definitely don't want to leave you. You don't have to sweat the small stuff. It doesn't need to be addressed today. It doesn't need to be, you know, it's not life-threatening. You can let it go. You can let it sit for a day.
Yeah.
Because at the grand scheme of things, we're all just going to kiss and make up anyway. So it's...
So let me add one more caveat into this.
Ooh,
Yeah, again, with the caveat.
it gets thicker.
So she's also a Sag. If anybody knows a Sag.
Not really.
Very fiery. Very fiery.
We don't take kindly to, how can I put this? And I say we because I'm a Sag.
So am I.
Will's a Sag. My whole family's a Sag. Except for my dad. God bless his soul.
He's a Leo, so he's
a Virgo.
Oh, he's a Virgo. Oh, he just made it.
He just here.
He just made it.
he stays out the fire. But it's really hard when we have something on our mind to tell us to wait for another day.
Oh, I gotta shoot that.
Really hard.
I gotta shoot that off right then and there.
Like
We
when
gotta
I
talk.
tell you, it's so hard. Like it's like it takes every ounce of you to kind of suppress it. It's really hard. When you have something to say, you have to just, because it's in our nature. It's just who we are to just blurt it out.
Right, but you got... Go ahead.
Sorry. I think
No, that was cute.
You guys
It was
are
good.
so nice.
It was like, no, baby, you go.
So
No, baby, you
nice.
go.
We over here, we just like, no, what? That's hold on.
But
Welcome to 5 years.
Yeah, wait till year 2.
But I think like if you, I don't know, You could blurt it out to someone, blurt it out to, like, in a letter, blurt it out in exercise
I like what
class,
you said
blurt
there.
it out, to a friend that you trust who.
But it's
has
nothing
your
worse
best
than
interest
us
at heart.
men receiving an email. I hate it. Like when Shay
I
would
didn't
send me
say an
when
email.
Shay
I said a letter.
emails, anything that I have to sit there and really have
Okay,
to.
that's because you're a Sag and you
I'm
don't
like,
want to read it.
I don't. I'm like, why?
That's why I don't write you 4-page letters, like Aaliyah said.
Thank God.
I give you 3 sentences in a text messages.
Which then,
And then you even say I'm too short.
I'm like, you're not saying everything you need to say.
Will's
to me.
problem is he's like, you're short. I don't know what you're saying. Like he kept saying, what are the meat? What's the meat? That is the meat. That's it.
Yeah, I think in general,
Well, that's because you
like,
don't set it
she
up
should-
nice.
She should
You
find
gotta set it up.
something to kind of release that
Gotta
energy because
build it up.
not every moment is going to be the right moment. To just
That's
say
true.
it,
I don't think any moment is the right moment.
Yeah.
Write the
Honestly.
letter and just don't send it to him.
That's true.
Just keep it for yourself. Just read it over.
I have a lot of letters upstairs.
Yeah.
I do. I have a lot of letters.
Yeah. And you just read it over to yourself, and then when you have that moment,
And then you burn them.
or you have that moment, you could be like, this is what I was thinking.
It doesn't need to always be sent. Every letter doesn't need to be sent.
There you go. Good job.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Just like every thought doesn't need to come out, like you said earlier. And to Greg's point, I think there is a time and a place when you need to have a good conversation, a healthy conversation. But honestly, there really isn't a time. You have to make time.
You have to make the
Right.
time.
And I think that's more of the issue is they just, because of their time, they don't have time.
Right.
It's a choice.
So whenever they have
choice.
time, it feels like that's all they can talk
Yeah.
about is their
Problems.
Right.
Yeah.
But the
Again,
thing is, you have
because
to-
of the timing, though, you do, your friend runs that risk of, as he's trying to decompress, from his work stress, that some of that might get sucked into the conversation.
Oh, of course.
Of
And,
course.
him,
I'm sure it's happened.
him or her may escalate it more than
I'm
than
pretty
what
sure
it
it's
needs to be.
happened.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, and it's one of those things where you have to work out as a couple. Something has to change. And a lot of times it's hard to take on something like that, but a big decision has to be made, which is for the sake of our relationship, we have to do something drastic has to change, whether, like you said, we either start our day early at the same time or we end our day together, but it's so you have more time.
Yeah.
Because
Even
when
if
you're
it's like
passing-
a once a week thing, just
Yeah.
being like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But the
let's just
other-
do something once a week.
But the other
I like
part,
the idea that you said, like driving somewhere together.
I was
We
about
used
to say that.
fight all the time driving,
Yeah,
but now we love it.
that's
Like,
great.
it's our conversation.
Especially
time.
when she drives. This is better.
he's a scary driver.
No, I'm not a scary driver. It's just that I drive better in the city. She's a highway driver.
Gotcha.
Especially if there's traffic. Oh, I can't stand it.
And then it's just like a
Dad.
nice enclosed space.
Well, I was
Yeah,
also going to say, like, to get this situation to work better, they need to leave wherever they are
I agree. They have to
and
leave
have
the
to
house.
go somewhere where it's
Yeah.
going to force them to talk and force them to
Like you said, a drive,
drive,
coffee shop,
coffee.
and it'll force them not to argue because they're out and about.
Right.
Hopefully,
Yeah. And it kind of driving puts you in a place where it's kind of the best of both worlds, where, as you said, the driver is out and he has to pay attention, but it's
Yeah.
also a matter of like we don't have the noise of everybody else.
Exactly.
It's just us.
and they're on neutral ground,
Yeah.
and I think that's important.
Very.
It just can't, they're the
A lot of our big moments happen when we were driving.
well, when you highway drive a lot. That's
Well,
when you do it.
yeah, good conversations that
Yeah.
happen from
Yeah.
driving.
We'll have like a podcast episode while we're driving,
Yeah,
We
that's
do.
great.
which is why we have to start doing this vlog thing because to capture that.
That's fun.
We do.
I mean, right now, like, we're in this age of, people want to peel behind the veil of relationships. They want to know what's really going on. Because
don't need to
everyone,
know.
I mean, like, I don't know what's on y'all timelines. Some of my friends who I follow or people who follow whatever, they're like, oh, I can't wait to meet my husband or where the good girls at, stuff like
Yep.
that. And I'm like, all right, y'all really want to see what it's like to be married? Let me do a vlog and so y'all can see what it's like to be married.
Exactly.
Let me
It's
put it
hard
out here
work.
with the kids.
His work.
Let me show you what it is. But the thing is, my only fear about doing that is the fact that I'm now letting you into my
And
sanctuary.
I'm not yet comfortable with that.
And I'm not yet. And the thing is,
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with it yet either. And that's the part. Like when we keep talking about on this podcast about doing a vlog. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do it.
because it allows people to have judgment into your marriage, into your
Right.
space, and this is my private life. And I love how Beyonce has done it. My marriage is not up for discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even through her Lemonade and Jay-Z's 444 or 444 album, however you
And
want
that
to
was
call
still
it.
something that they, there were still parts of it they agreed to put up. It wasn't
Absolutely.
just, here you go. It's
Yeah.
still strategic.
But I just want to say, after going back to Beyonce's I Am Sasha Fierce album, she's been dealing with Jay-Z's infidelity and or insecurities since then.
Forever. Yeah.
Like, I went back and I was like,
I thought it was that other. I thought it was that one joint when it was that B-Day where she had the last R&B track on there.
If I Were a Boy? I don't know what song you're thinking.
Oh gosh,
Melodies.
no, I know it's I can see the video in my head.
What was the video?
I can't. Y'all probably don't watch music videos though.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Remember the music video where she was doing everything in reverse?
Me, myself, and I.
Just
Yes.
me, myself,
Oh, yeah,
and I.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But no, people were saying that. Oh, that's about her mom talking about her dad. But I was like,
Oh, it could have been. Was she with Jay then?
she was.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was, yeah.
That was
I felt
that was
like-
B-Day album, wasn't it?
No, that was
B-Day.
first album. Me, Myself, and I.
No, that wasn't
That was
Dangerously
the
in
first
Love.
album.
That was
the
Dangerous.
first
That was
album.
Dangerously in
That was
Love.
Dangerously in Love.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
She had some
Yo,
chance on that.
Look, we still got to
But I
look.
think she was dating Jay at the
Dangerously
time,
in Love
right?
was
She was
the
dating
best.
Jay? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that was...
Because
That was
03
early.
Bonnie and Clyde,
Yeah.
that was like
Yeah, that was before
when
her
we
first
started
album.
suspecting it and all that stuff.
That
And
was
Yeah.
her first album. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to our episode of the Two Cool Parents podcast.
Yep, that's Dangerously in Love.
I want to thank both great Jade and Greg.
Thanks for having us.
And Vicky, shout out to our sponsor, G & Cole Apparel.
Thank you guys so much. This has been great.
So Jay was leading your book before we end the podcast.
It's
Untitled.
It's untitled.
How
It's to be
does
determined.
it
Oh God.
It's just me, myself, and I.
myself and I. Sasha Fierce.
Dangerously in Love Part 3.
See, well, now we need to have this music podcast thing really flow now. Like,
do.
I have the concept. I'm waiting
If
for
you
it.
do a music podcast, you better get me on it. Like
What? Jade is
I
here?
would, especially R&B.
Listen,
It's-
that is like 90% of our car ride
Yes.
conversations.
Jay, you just now signed on to be a co-host. So
I mean, I don't know about girls, but I could.
no,
be
too
one
late.
of the
You're already here.
episodes-
You're already here.
I could be one of the people
No,
in the
co-host.
No, about 90s R&B. I'm not good with hip hop too much, but on 90s
it blends.
R&B, I'm good.
Mary J. Blige, we're
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
My life, my life, my life, my life, my life. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, rate, and share.
I know it's a long episode, but we had some great people here.
Aww.
And
Love
you guys are right across the bridge, and you work over here, so I don't know why you're not over here more often.
You can always come get a
They
meal.
got me working like a dog.
You can come over here and get a plate. You know what I'm saying?
I'm come back, get a couple places, sleep on the couch, use your bathroom,
You family.
Yeah.
kick my shoes off, get a blanket.
Hey,
We'll text
remember what did I say the first time y'all came to the crib? Once you walk out that door the first time, you will not a guest no more.
That's true. That's very true.
You better find out where it is and figure out where it is then.
You say that, so I tear up that refrigerator.
All right, make sure you restock that refrigerator. You stop at BJ's on your way down, bro. But yes, thank you for listening to Two Cool Parents podcast with your hosts Will and Shay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Love, peace, hair grease, all that. Peace.